please welcome my guest for this evening, Dooper.
Hi.
Hello, Dooper. Welcome on in.
Oh, hello. Oh, hold on.
Hello,
Where am
hello. Oh. We good? We good?
I? No, we're great. I'm just being stupid.
No, you're good. You're good. Well, welcome on in, Dooper. So excited to have you here tonight. First off, I want to say thank you for the tunes tonight that you directed me to a playlist that I'm pretty sure you curated yourself, which is simply entitled Balls. And it's just this really fun, it's like 170 something tracks of these video game mashup remixes. I listened to a good number of them earlier, just very fun. Really excited to sort of add this one into my rotation because I sometimes have guests that have their own, specific looping BGMs, but I also have a good number of go-to playlists of different moods, basically of video game music. But I didn't have anything that fit this type of move, and I'm not even really sure what to quite categorize it as, but it's distinctly different, and I'm really liking it. So thank you for that suggestion.
Oh, just doing my job,
Of course. We actually spoke just the other day, and I think that you are the first guest that I have had in 72 episodes that opened up our conversation with a fart. So congratulations. I can say that that is a first for Vtuber Talk.
Oh, yeah, just way to break the ice. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. No apology necessary. That I was like, okay, good. This is going to be a good show. It's going to be a good day. So really excited to have you on. For anybody who might not be familiar with you, if you could introduce yourself.
Sure. Do you want the scripted version or
whichever you prefer?
Hold on, I think I got the scripted version there somewhere. Wait a minute.
Stand by.
No. Yeah, you know what? Okay. Hello everybody. What's up? My name is Dooper. I am the low poly llama VTuber variety streamer of Twitch.tv, and I am also the director of TOASTY Ashes of Dusk, and which is an upcoming action RPG coming to consoles and PC. And I am partner select for Twitch. For Twitch, 73 days since we've applied for partner as of right now.
Yeah, they've been kind of ghosting you. I've heard of a couple instances of that, a couple of them more recently actually, that I've heard. For whatever reason, it seems that folks in Europe have to wait a lot longer and have to go through a lot more. But the thing is, I don't think you're European based, and you've just sort of been left out to dry. I hope they get back to you. That come to think of it, I forget who it was, but I saw this actual situation happen to somebody else very recently, and I remember that they said they emailed Twitch saying, hey, what's up? I'm not trying to, say I need to be approved, but can I get an answer? And that they got an answer within like 4 hours. So, I don't recall how exactly they wrote in. It might have been through the generic contact form, but at this point, I don't think it would be unprofessional to just politely follow up and say, hey,
Right.
I know you all are busy. I might have slipped through the cracks. Anytime you can get back to me would be fantastic. Because 73 days is a bit past what they advertise. They usually say, we'll get back to you within 2 to 4 weeks, but this is pushing it, man.
It's funny. I actually emailed the partner email because the help center had nothing listed for partner information. So I emailed the partner email that was given to me by a friend of mine.
Okay, so you've already gone there.
Yeah, I emailed them and they said, you need to take that up with the help center. I was like, okay. So I went to the help center. There's nothing listed for partner. And a friend of mine who's in a different country said that they reached out via the affiliate subcategory for the help center. And I did exactly that. And then they said, sorry, we can't help you through help center. So email to me.
Okay, never mind. Disregard everything I just said.
And it's actually scary because one of my friends told me that if you message them or you ask them anything, they can reset you in your queue. I didn't get told that, so I really hope that's not what happened.
I would hope that a single inquiry wouldn't bump you down. Like, if you're going to pester them every 2 days or something, I wouldn't be surprised if they bumped you, but I would hope that after that amount of time, a single "Hey, what's up?" isn't going to be held against you. But it sounds like you've already done your due diligence there. So I am sorry, my friend. I hope they get back to you soon. But for what it's worth, I will definitely say that I think it is a when, not if, that you get a bit of purple added to your profile.
Oh yeah, it'll happen eventually, when I least expect it.
Of course. Hopefully, it'll happen in the middle of a stream. Get a good live react out of it.
I really
But
hope not.
hope not.
I'll be too. I don't know. When I'm streaming, for some reason, my brain kind of works on like a quarter or like 25% capacity. And then when like
That's
big
fair.
things like that happen, I tend to kind of just blank out. I don't know what I would do.
Fair. You're operating at 25% capacity because 75% of your brain is being dedicated to broadly gestures at all the things you need to pay attention to while streaming.
Right, exactly.
But anyways, really excited to have you on. That, as you mentioned, you are the low poly llama VTuber and a game developer yourself. And I guess might as well start with that. N64 games, or I suppose low poly games, broadly speaking, I don't want to call them retro games because I refuse to acknowledge N64 era and PS1 era as retro. Thank you very much. But we'll say the low poly era, that's sort of your shtick. That's an area of passion for you. It's definitely the aesthetic that you have for Toasty. Is there anything in particular that you can sort of draw as this is sort of the moment I realized that this style of game was my passion, or is it something just over time that perhaps a combination of nostalgia and other things just sort of led to you staying with that? Because I know you and I are approximately the same age, so we grew up in the not 8-bit era, but definitely the lower poly era.
Yeah, that's about right. Hate to burst your bubble though, but apparently retro is any console that is 2 generations behind the current generation.
I know that's what they call it. I just refuse to acknowledge it.
PlayStation 3 is retro.
No, absolutely not.
I know. That makes
absolutely not.
Oh my gosh. So what it really is for me is a lot of people tend to reference this when games were coming out in the 90s, early 2000s. It was nobody really knew how to do anything. Nobody really knew, like, there wasn't guidelines on how to make a game, like how to do it right and stuff. So that was the era of experimentation. They were just trying something new all the time. And they were also operating or working with restrictions, like what a PlayStation can process versus what an N64 can process, which brings up the low poly. The reason why low poly is a thing is because of those restrictions.
Yep.
And it just became this this aesthetic that I loved. I loved seeing. I loved booting up. I loved playing Croc on my PlayStation. I loved playing Banjo on my N64. And I don't know, ever since then, I've always just like looked back at those kind of games, and it was just, I'm not gonna say it was a simpler time, but in a way, it was. it was a little bit simpler. They worked under those restrictions, and they made something beautiful. And believe it or not, a lot of the things that are out right now are directly inspired or sequels to those kind of games. So growing up with that, and kind of like seeing that all the time, it's just every time I see any kind of low poly game, any new indie game coming out that's low poly, it hits that button for me, and it's just instant serotonin.
Yeah,
so
I think it's very much nostalgia, that it's not this was necessarily better, but it's just a matter of, well, when people have fond childhood memories, that they stick with people. And it's just, I really enjoy this and I associate happy memories with it. And there's nothing wrong with that. And that I think it's completely natural that we see a lot of things inspired by it right now, just because it's the natural progression of things that when we were young, these were the things that we saw, these were the things that we grew up with. And now that folks our age are now a bit more in the driver's seat of development, that even if we aren't all game directors, which you are, but as people get older, that they naturally are going to matriculate into the industries that influence them, and as such are going to carry those influences with them. So I am really not at all surprised that we continue to see low poly as a aesthetic, because it is something that you and many others, myself included, associate with that nostalgia and, the everything old is new again type
Hmm.
of deal that really influences all industries, not just video games. So I think it's completely logical that we still have low poly as an aesthetic, even though we are no longer bound by those technological restrictions that you were mentioning that really
Hmm.
sort of made such aesthetics more of a necessity than perhaps a artistic choice at the time.
Yeah, exactly. Nostalgia's beautiful, but it can also be very scary.
For sure, for sure. Also, I missed a whole bunch of follows at the start of the show, so I'm just going to run through them real fast. Pizza
Yeah,
Cat
go ahead.
Arcade, Shark Sided, White Bear LPW, Spicy Bar, Merrick T. Schmidt, Dumb Puppy VT, Heyo, it's Yak, Dreamy Boo, Super Emo Boy, and Bonk. No, Blank, I think. And Captain
It's
Coco
bonk.
Charms. Thank you all so much for the follows and welcome on in.
Hey, those are all my homies.
Yeah, welcome on in, folks. Really excited to have you here. That I have been in a good number of streams of yours, Dooper. That it's something that I never invite someone on my show unless I'm familiar at a base level with their content and just with their vibe as a whole. And that's part of why I'm always excited to have guests on because it's people that I know I'm going to be able to have a good time with, or at least reliably certain that I will. When it comes to low poly games, are there any specific ones that you point to saying, this was really formative for me? Or even if not for me, that do you feel that there are any that you're really pulling from when it comes to Toasty?
So Toasty itself is a top-down action RPG. It's a pixel-based game, but it does draw a lot of inspiration from classic, I guess, classic low poly games. Um, for me, one of the bigger inspirations would probably have to be um, Majora's Mask for the Nintendo 64 and
Mm,
Mega Man Legends for the PlayStation.
okay, yeah. That you're definitely not the first guest I've had that has mentioned Majora's Mask as a
Of course, I
formative
bet
game for
Jackie
them.
did.
Oh, she absolutely did. I can, yes.
Yeah, that's about right.
Well played.
Yeah, no
But I think
problem.
you are the first to mention Mega Man Legends. Now, Legends isn't one that I grew up playing myself, that I never actually owned an N64. I played it at friends' houses. The first
Hmm.
home console I owned was a GameCube, so that was the first one that I got a lot of
Oh wow.
single player experiences with.
Hmm.
I had owned a Game Boy Color prior to that, but not for N64. Um,
Right.
but Mega Man Legends is obviously a game that even if I did not play myself, I'm very familiar with. Just obviously, it is one that is still very beloved to this day. Was there something about Legends or Legend of Zelda that you think really just clicked with you? Was there a particular thing, or it is entirely valid to say just it hit me at the right place at the right time and stuck with me, and you might not necessarily know why.
Game fun end interview. I'm kidding.
Hey, sometimes it's
Uh,
just that simple.
so what like what I was saying earlier about the whole low poly thing and operating under heavy restrictions. Majora's Mask was made and developed within a year, and when you look at the game from the outside, you can see that it uses a lot of the assets that you find in Ocarina of Time. But one of the big things for me and why I really enjoy Majora's Mask is the characters as well as
Mm,
the story. So this is actually something I was just talking to one of my friends in the Discord the other day. To this day, they're still finding out new things about the game, like with dialogue and characters that you would have otherwise not have figured out when you were a kid. Um, you mind if I give you an example?
oh, please.
Okay, so when you play through Majora's Mask, there's this infamous quest called the Anju Cafe quest. It takes 3 days to complete. It's this crazy story. Skull Kid turned this one character named Cafe into a kid, and then they were robbed by somebody named Saikon who took his sun mask. And you just do this very long 3-day long mission to help get the sun mask back to Cafe, talking to Anju, and then Anju waits for Cafe in a room as the moon's about to crash and literally kill everybody. And like in their final moments, they're embracing each other. By the way, that is incredibly dark and insane, especially when you're like a 10-year-old kid and you're playing
Yeah.
this game. But something that I didn't know about this game. So like I knew that if you did partial, like you did part of the mission and you didn't tell Anju that Cafe was going to come back, Anju will leave. Like she'll just leave. She won't be
Oh.
there, and then Cafe will show up to her room with the mask, and
You can
Andrew's
get
just
bad
not
ending.
there. Yeah, and it's sad because they're like, oh, and now the moon's gonna crash and literally kill everybody, unless you just long time and get out of that. But something else that I didn't even know about: if you go to, let's say you don't even do the mission, you're doing other things. You're rolling around as a Goron for 3 days. You go to the ranch, and you go into that house on the 3rd day before the moon's about to crash. If you go into the upstairs, you find Anju and her family. They're inside that that room. They're just waiting. They're waiting for like the
The end.
they think they're safe. Yeah. Well, kind of like, some of them are like accepting it, but then there's other people that are just completely refusing, to believe that it is the end and stuff. And you find Anju, she's crying and stuff. And if you put on the cafe mask that you get and you talk
can
to
you
Anju's
impersonate?
mom, kind of, you wear that mask to like help try and find Cafe because Cafe's missing. You wear that mask. If you talk to Andrew's mom, she screams at you, like she yells at you and says that she never wants to see that face ever again. And just someone like I'm like a little kid, and this is like one of my favorite games of all time. And to this day,
That's some
finding out
dramatic
more-
stuff.
yeah, and it's so much detail went into that game in a year. And
Yeah.
looking back on it, it's such an amazing game. And to this day, there's more and more stuff is being found out. And it's just, did you know that this happened? If you talk to this person on the final day wearing this specific mask, they tell you their name, and you're like, what? That's weird. And I didn't know they had a name. Small, tiny details like that. It's just incredible.
Yeah, that I've seen. You even said the line, the "Did you know" type of videos on that game, and like you mentioned, it was developed very hastily. That it was just running off the success of Ocarina of Time. That Nintendo wanted another Zelda game out, and they wanted it quickly, and that they leaned on the writer to get this game out in 12 months. Which, for game development, it doesn't matter if it's today or in the 90s. 12 months is not a lot if you're going to do something that is beyond just a basic level game. So
exactly,
it obviously made a lot of sense for them to just wholesale reuse the assets. But the fact that even, with the assets reused, that so much went into the writing, like you said, that all these different iterations, permutations of this timeline, because, anytime you're doing writing with time travel, regardless of if it's a game, a book, a movie, you're going to be running into some weird shit. Right. And that they really put in the time to just have these different pieces of stories, these threads that you can follow up on or not follow up on, and really create a surprisingly deep and living world, which you don't see even today in every game. That back then it was even rarer than it is now, but it's still just a shining example, and that's why you and so many others really hold it up even to this day, 20 years after its initial release.
Right, exactly.
And the thing is, just it's incredible to think of how that game came to be. That I would love to see just a full-on documentary of it.
Oh yeah, definitely. The thing is, the documentary wouldn't even cover everything. That game is it's so deep. There's so much going on in the game. It's crazy. I love it though. It's so good, and the tones and everything, and it flies over your head as a kid, and you just remember it, and you're like, oh, I loved this mask. It let me do this. Oh, I turned into a Goron and I rolled around Termina Field for 3 days, and just having so much fun being silly. And then you go back to it as an adult, and you have that nostalgia, but then you're finding new things on finding out all these new things on top of that nostalgia, and it just makes the game even better. So every time I play through Majora's Mask, I find myself loving the game even more than I already do.
Yeah, and that's the mark of just a good piece of media, one that you can go back to and discover new things, or even if not necessarily discover new things, appreciate them and see them in a new light. That, oh, I didn't understand this line when I was a kid because, either there might have been some silly innuendo, or that there might have been some double meaning to it that had unexpected weight that you didn't quite realize as a kid because you were just, quickly going through the dialogue because I want to play the game right now. And
Mm-hmm.
that when you then revisit it and read it with more seasoned eyes, that you realize, oh, wow, how did I miss this?
Yeah, exactly. uh, I got another one for you if you want to hear real quick that I just
Please.
found out a week and a half ago that just blew my mind that I never even thought of. So, um, in Majora's Mask, there is this Skulltula house on the beach. It's the ocean Skulltula house. And what you do is you clear out all the gold Skulltulas, and there's somebody who shows up and he's like, "Hey, this is a hideout. This is perfect. I can be safe here." And he gives you the Giant's wallet, and you can hold more money. And like that's the whole purpose of it. And as a kid, you're like, "Okay, I got to do this. Get the wallet. Okay, bing bang gone." Um, just found out recently actually that if you on the first day, I think it was the first day, um, on the first day, if you clear out the Skulltula house, the guy shows up and he says he gives you his life savings, and it's 300, and he gives you 300 rupees. On the second day, if you clear out the Skulltula house, he gives you his life savings, which is 200 rupees. And then on the final day, if you clear out the Skulltula house, he gives you his life savings, which is 20 rupees.
Because he's been spending it.
Because he's been spending it. Yeah, yeah. So, because, like the world's about to end, so he's like
Might
spending
as well.
his
You
money.
can't take it with you.
Exactly. And then when the clock tower opens, the fireworks happen, and the moon is literally crashing. If you go into the Skulltula house, right at the entrance, you go down the ramp. He's huddled by one of the torches, and he's like praying, hoping that it's going to keep him safe, that he is going to survive, that this hideout is going to help him. And you're just like, I never saw it as a kid. I just went in there, cleared the house, got the wallet, and left.
Because why would you go there of all places at the
Exactly.
end?
Exactly. You're like, what is this? This is a game that I love and I've played so many times. How have I not even known that? It's so crazy.
I feel like that's the stuff that you're gonna go back, especially now when you're older, because those are the places that you wouldn't think to go. That normally, all right, it's the last moments of the last day. You're either fighting the final boss or you're about to turn back time, that you're not gonna really explore around and be like, okay, what is everybody spending their final moments doing? But obviously the writers had to create the scenario of what is everybody doing in this literal apocalyptic final moment scenario. And that's the deep stuff. That's the dark stuff that, there's, I forget what I think it was called This Is the End. There was a disaster movie, 5-6 years ago.
Like Seth Rogen, right?
That I usually do not enjoy those types of movies, but it's the type of thing of, that is explored inevitably in media of, what do people do and what are the different mindsets and the psychology of literal apocalypse scenarios. And it's not something that is explored very frequently in media at all, much less in video games. And for it to be done, in a kid's game, that this is a game that I forget if it was, I think it was E10. Certainly wasn't anything highly rated in terms of age restrictions, but there's some like crazy stuff that they threw in there, and it makes you think, all right, what would this be rated today?
I just verified it is E10.
Okay,
You're right. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy to think.
But have you ever heard actually? So I am a really big game music buff. That I just love video game music. Orchestral ones in particular are my passion. There is a fan album by a artist called Theo Fanning.
Yeah,
called
I know that
Time's
album.
End.
Yes.
I love that album.
Oh, it's a good album.
Like,
Yeah, I remember that.
One of the most beautiful and haunting fan albums I've ever heard, and just they have this incredible arrangement of the clock tower theme for the final day, and it's just it's like a Halloween level of unhinged, that it's the clock tower theme of that da 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 da
Yeah.
da da, but it then progresses into these weird tempos that it sort of gets faster then slower, and it becomes very creepy and very unsettling. and there's some just really, really powerful arrangements. So glad to hear that you have heard of it. But for anyone who's watching who might not have checked it out, it's THEOPHANY. I'm putting that there in the chat.
Yeah.
Just search that and then Times End. It's like a 8-track album, so it's not too long, but it is incredibly well done. Highly, highly recommended.
Oh yeah, I remember that. It was so before when they announced that, the internet was, especially Majora's Mask fans, Zelda fans alike. Before they announced it, there was they had a website. I don't know if you knew about this.
Yes, the
Yeah,
countdown.
the countdown website. It was in 2012. I remember this because everybody online was freaking out about it because it was just this creepy Majora's Mask that nobody like knew where this was from. Like this is completely unique and really cool. And the website had like that eerie music playing on loop, and it was dark, you know, and it was a countdown. And then back in 2012, I streamed myself playing it. It wasn't, I don't even remember the account name. It wasn't big or anything, but I streamed myself playing Majora's Mask while that was going. And my goal was to stop the moon before the countdown happened. And the countdown happened on New Year's of 2012. I believe that's when it happened. So I was like racing against that. I remember that, like, it was the coolest thing ever because I think it was like within the last 12 hours, the entire website, like the countdown went red. The mask started like gyrating, and it got really intense, and everybody was
oh my gosh.
Nobody knew it was music though. Like nobody knew it was music. They're like, what is happening?
I appreciate this so much because I've brought up this album to other guests who have a particular passion for Majora's Mask, and a couple of them have heard of it. Most of them have not. You are the first to have any memory of that website.
Of course. I was like everybody on the internet because at the time I was wow, I'm gonna reveal something about myself. I was at the time I was working for Zelda Informer.
Okay, this makes even more sense now.
So I just did some like freelance support stuff. But everybody was freaking out because some people thought it was some sort of collab with Nintendo. People were thinking that we were getting like a Majora's
couldn't
Mask
tell
remake.
that I think this was before we had the 3DS release. If it had to have been. So people were wondering, you know, are we going to get a port of it? Is there going to be a remake? Is there going to be somehow a sequel to it? Because the folks behind it, it was such high production value that you could have believed it was something from Nintendo.
Yeah, exactly. People were thinking that was even like a movie or something. And then I remember when it was like it hit the final moment, it revealed what it was, and I remember so many people were so disappointed.
Yeah, some folks had really hyped themselves up and were thinking, "Oh my gosh, this is a game announcement." The step down of game announcement to it is a fan album stung for a couple folks, and I did feel a bit bad, but at the same time, you know, sorry.
Yeah. It's a great album though. I wish I owned the vinyl though. That was probably one of my regrets.
Oh, I forgot that they released that. Yeah, I didn't get that. But finding out that you wrote for Zelda Informer, that's neat. That for those who aren't familiar, obviously, you know, a riff off Game Informer magazine, that it was not affiliated with Game Informer, but it was basically, or I think it still is active.
So they merged with Zelda Dungeon.
Okay. But
that was after.
But at the time, it was one of the go-to places for Zelda news and just fandom. That it was one of the central hubs.
What song is playing right now?
I do not recall.
Because chat right now is doing crawl.
Oh yes, yeah. Well, this is all from the playlist that you sent me. I didn't look at all of the track names, but whatever it is, it's from there.
Oh my!
This is your fault, Dooper.
It's the Linkin Park crawling song, and it's just he never finishes saying crawling.
Also, folks in the chat, let me know. I've set the music to be, you know, pretty low, but if it ends up being too loud or obtrusive, let me know and I'll lower it more.
We're used to yeah.
Hey, that's what
They
I like
are.
to do. I like to bring in the BGM of my guests. It helps bring the mood together. So I'm happy to make you all feel at home, Chad. Yeah. So in that case, one of the other Zelda fan albums that I'm really fond of is just Zelda Reorchestrated as a whole is a group that I like, but they did it was a Twilight Princess album. It was like this 3-disc set. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that one, since
I don't think
I
so,
suppose at
actually.
that point that is going a bit past Majora's Mask, obviously, but yeah, it was a really, really well done orchestral album that covered the entirety of the Twilight Princess soundtrack in full orchestration, just built from the ground up by fans, and it's very, very high quality.
Yeah, I've never heard of it. But are you a Twilight Princess fan?
Twilight Princess is my favorite Zelda game.
Okay.
That the piece that sets it apart for me, that I like the game as a whole. I'm not gonna say it is the best game. It's just my personal favorite. The reason it sticks out for me so much is that it has my favorite final boss sequence of any game I've ever played. The 4 phases of that final boss of just, going from possessed Zelda to Beast Ganon to the horseback to the final 1v1 sword fight is the most satisfying final boss I've ever played.
Really?
I don't know why. It's just always hit for me. After the second phase, you defeat Beast Ganon. Hyrule Castle blows up, and then the dust settles, and you see Ganondorf rearing back on the horse, crushing Midna's mask.
Yeah.
I'm taking from your reaction that you do not hold it in as quite a high as regarded. I do.
No. I am in 100% agreement with you. The final part of Twilight Princess is probably the best part of Twilight Princess, but besides one of the dungeons, in my opinion, Twilight Princess has one of the best Zelda dungeons of all time, and that's the Yeti Mansion. I love that stage. It was you played through it, and it's one of your favorites. You know exactly what I'm talking about, because you typically, when you play Zelda, it's like run around, get a key, open this key, puzzle here, and stuff. You get that with the mansion. But what was really cool about that was it was combined with humor, and instead of finding the key, you were finding like soup ingredients, and you had no idea. And you're like upset about it. You're like, I just busted my butt trying to find this key. I just got a pumpkin.
Yeah.
And then you give it to the Yeti, and then he's just like, pumpkin, and then he like knocks you over, puts in the soup. And you benefit from it, though, because that soup ends up replenishing more and more hearts. And eventually, it becomes overpowered and good soup,
Very good soup. And then the boss there just ends up, well, to her credit, she's possessed. But
my life. Yeah.
But it's just, it's almost a Smeagol Golem moment where they're coveting, I forget what jewel it is or whatever, but it's the MacGuffin that you need to collect at a point in time.
Yeah, it's the shard of the mirror. Yeah,
shard of the mirror. Thank you. And that she basically goes full Golem and attacks you, and that's the boss of the dungeon.
Yeah, I really like that. My only issue with Twilight Princess was, I got bored a lot. I beat it. As a kid, I played through the entire game. I loved it. I beat it. Replayed it again. Loved it and beat it because I love Midna. Midna's amazing.
Midna is one of the best companion characters.
I'm 100% in agreement with you. But as I've gotten older and have gone back to it over and over, I've started to kind of like it less and less. And that's only because of I really, and this really shows in my game development with Toasty. I love it when you can do something in the game and everybody's affected by it in a way to where, let's say, and I'm going to use this as an example because a lot of my community can't stand that I love this game. Skyward Sword, you complete an area and you come back to Skyloft and literally everybody's dialogue is different. Literally everybody they're all doing completely different things. There's new missions, there's new side stuff to do. And I love that side character development. That's the kind of stuff that really, really gets me really into a game.
I mean, especially after what we just were discussing from Majora's Mask. Yes, this totally tracks.
Yeah, Squidward's sword. No, all right. I get flack. I get flack for praising Skyward Sword. It is a great game.
It's a very good world building game.
Yeah.
That suffered because some of the motion mechanics weren't as polished as possible. And to its credit, they had the attachment, which did make the Wiimote much more responsive than it was without it. That was one of the big things that they pushed that hardware. You're talking about hardware restrictions with low poly. That's one of the things that makes and breaks Skyward Sword. That it was trying to do something with more one-to-one motion than had ever been done before for pretty much any AAA title, certainly for any Zelda game. And it got very close, but it was still just a couple notches off. And I think that's where it really sort of hits a snag for a lot of people, that some of the motion controls just were, it was uncanny valley where it was this close, but just far off enough that it was still a bit obtrusive. And I think that's where a lot of people hold a strike against it.
Yep, that is literally what my friend Blanc says, like word for word. It is a great game wrapped around terrible mechanics.
Yes, precisely. There was some really good stuff there, and I appreciated it as a lore building one of having it be game zero, effectively, of the Zelda franchise, because the Zelda timeline continuity is screwy to begin with, and this was before they had given us the actual official timeline that I think they released it. They released the official timeline right before Breath of the Wild, so we did not have it at this point in time. But this game very clearly established itself as this is the first iteration, the first incarnation, because I'm gonna go through spoiler alert here, but that they reveal that the final boss Demise is Proto Ganon, for lack of a better term, and that there is this declaration when you defeat him of, I will reincarnate and I will haunt you for eternity, that I will continue to hunt you down, your ancestors, and that our struggle is not over.
Oh, I got tingles.
That it was it was a huge moment, because up until that moment, as a player, at least me, I was a little disappointed that it wasn't Ganon, because Ganondorf is the one that you really expect, and that you have these other final bosses in some of the spin-off games, and so there's this big, spooky enough looking character named Demise, and okay, yeah, we understand that he's very powerful and all that jazz, but then to have that final reveal after you've defeated him, mind you, that technically he's no longer a threat, but then to just have that click of, oh my god, I did just fight Ganondorf, or at least the being that will become Ganondorf.
Exactly.
And it was just a eye-opening, spine-chilling moment, and I did appreciate that in the writing.
Oh yeah, the writing in Skyward Sword it's so good. It got me really emotional. I cried because it's easy to make me cry, and it's just all around. I just really like it. And you know what? I was actually one of the few people who had no issues with the controls. Like if my Wiimote desynced, I would just press start and press the one button, and then bam.
Yeah, that I by and large was fine with it. That there was a couple of some of the diagonals were a bit inconsistent, but I mostly enjoyed the game. That the more annoying parts were those final trials where you had to collect all the music notes in like a certain amount of time right before the final boss. That sort of broke the flow for me a bit.
Oh yeah.
That wasn't a fan of that, but I'm certainly not a Skyward Sword hater. That it's not my favorite. I think there are things that can be improved, but I think it did a lot of things really, really well. I also really appreciated the fact that it then established that the red bird that we know and love, that has been on the Hylian shield since at least since Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
That it's then brought back, and you realize, oh my gosh, the red bird that you're flying around on throughout the game, that is what is emblazoned on the shield for generations to come.
Yeah. Kind of little details like that, and I really like that stuff. You ever play Wind Waker?
Yes, that was actually the first Legend of Zelda game that I played from start to finish.
Oh, okay.
So
So
I'd
wait.
played others and started them, but never gotten around to finishing them for
Mhm.
various reasons, either because, I didn't own an N64, so I played bits and pieces of Majora's Mask or Ocarina of Time at a friend's house. I had rented, it was Link's Awakening from Blockbuster, and just
Mm,
was, when I was 6, 7, 8, was not good enough to beat the game.
that's what's in
Ha
here.
I've since oh my gosh, it is. I never noticed that.
Yep.
I've since gone back and beaten Link's Awakening, but that Wind Waker was the first that I played to completion.
Right. We were just talking about Wind Waker, me and my community the other day. You were talking about the music note collection in Skyward Sword, and made me think of Wind Waker. You do the you do the 3 dungeons, and you do like the light dungeon. You get your master sword, and then you have to like repower them, and then do 2 dungeons, and then you have to collect pieces of the Triforce and spend a lot of money.
Mhm,
That's the
mhm,
part
mhm.
where I kind of like, and you're losing me. But
Yeah,
but what
does drag a bit there.
it really did. But Wind Waker is also one of those really good examples about doing things and it affects people. Whereas you finally save your sister from the Forsaken Fortress. Yay, everything's all good, you know. Well, it turns out that the pirates shook down um, one of the parents of one of the girls that was kidnapped, and now they're poor. And now that mansion that's in on Windfall Island is now inhabited by another person who was poor because their daughter was gifted a ton of treasure from one of the moblins. And if you're not really paying attention, you're just kind of running into Windfall and leaving, you miss it. And then that the former rich girl, there's like a whole mission with her where she's trying to rob her employer, and it's like a whole little side mission that you can do in Wind Waker.
I'll
Little
admit I didn't remember that.
Yeah, there's like little details like that. Like, I love that stuff. I live for it.
Just it's the little pieces. It's the little world building things that always
Mhm.
make such a big difference. And yeah, absolutely, absolutely love them. Uh, Hopping away from Zelda for a little bit, that I'm sure we could talk. We could just do an entire Legend of Zelda show.
Yeah.
We could go title by title through that franchise. I've not played all of them. I've played most of them,
Mm.
and I'm sure we could keep going. But I know that a couple of the other games that you mentioned, Mega Man Legends, and like I said, that's one that I have not actually played. What about that one really sticks out for you?
So what really sticks out with Mega Man Legends for me is whereas when you play Zelda, you are the character, you are Link. Um, you're not really doing story. You're not really like interacting. Like there's nothing coming from your end. You are the player. So Link is an extension of the player. Whereas Mega Man Legends, you're playing as Mega Man, and
Yeah.
they have a personality. They have dialogue. They're not an extension of the player. You're just playing as them.
Hmm.
So the story is developed a completely different way, and there's already right when you jump in, right when the get go, you're already put into a situation. You are in these catacombs. You are you are somebody who goes through old mines and tries to find old artifacts, and they bring them to I think they just sell them, trying to like make money and stuff. And Mega Man Legends just starts out immediately in that. You're just put into this situation, immediately starts on high energy, and then your ship breaks down and you find yourself in an unfamiliar place called Cadillacs Island. And this is good. And this is probably where I really started to get really into the game because good storytelling in any media form is to not put the person the main character, not to put the main character in an environment that they are familiar with. Don't don't do that. Don't ever do that because then you'll spend all your time telling the player what they are what
What
the main
they
character already knows.
mhm,
You need to
exposition
develop with them.
dumps.
Exactly. So when you're put on this island, you know nothing about it, right? You kind of just got the whole idea on what you do and how you go through these mines and you look for all these different artifacts and stuff. And now you're put
That
on
you're
this island.
discovering with the character.
Exactly. And you're playing through it, and it's cool because it starts out kind of small. You need to get an ID so you can access the rest of Cadillacs Island. there's been pirates seen lately, and then you're like, am I the pirate, or are there other people the pirates? And then you find out who they are, and the best part is it's the pirates of the Tron Bonds, the Bond family. Tron, she was like my childhood crush also. I was like 12. And what I really liked about it was these bad guys, they were super well developed and incredibly likable, and you almost felt bad, but
I
they were also
appreciate well-written villains.
exactly, they weren't like evil to be evil or anything like that. They were just like trying to stop you so they can take the treasure that apparently is in Catalog's Island so they can make money, because they have a lot of debt apparently. It's funny, but the game is, it's lighthearted, there's a lot of whimsy, and it's just super fun to play. And you just upgrade yourself with parts, you get better blasters, you become stronger, you can kick a can behind a counter and get money from doing it. And it's just, there's just so many characters you can talk to. There's literally this artist in Catalogs where you can tell they're like, hey, this painting I'm working on, what do you think it needs? And then like you have two options. You can say needs more red or it needs more talent.
Oh,
And you can just be mean if you wanted to. But as a kid running around, and it wasn't to a point where it was completely open world. It was just Catalog's Island. It was big, but not overwhelmingly big. And you just got to run around and have fun, interact with different things. There's mini games, there's different buildings you can go into, and they'll like a lot of lore building stuff. And that's what I really like about Mega Legends. On top of the low poly, it's just so beautiful.
that. So I didn't play many Mega Man games growing up, but the games that I did play was the Mega Man Battle Network series.
Oh, yeah, that's nothing
Specifically-
like Mega Legends.
That yeah, I know it's very different, but that one had its own sort of world building of just the duality of the net navi world, the virtual world, and the real world, and the interaction therein. That I know that is not the normal Mega Man experience. That's just sort of my background with the franchise, and they did recently announce that they're actually porting all, I forget if it was 6 or 7 Battle Network games to the Wii in one, or not, good lord, to the Switch in one big collection, I think late this year or early next year. So I'm really hyped about that one.
Yeah, we're getting a Legacy collection, and the thing is with Battle Network, I actually didn't play the games until a little bit later, and even then, I only got, I want to say, halfway through the first game, because I got to a point where it's like, this is very hard.
It's a different type of complex that, the normal games are the side scroller run and guns, and they can be very, very challenging. Whereas the Battle Network ones are I'm not quite sure the best way to describe it, because it's sort of real-time strategy and tactics, but it's on this weird 3x6 grid where you have a 3x3 and the opposing side is a 3x3, and just you're having to move around in real time, use different chips, and they have a really good story and world building, that especially in 3 and 4, that there's the whole concept of these dark chips that, if you remember the Mega Man NT Warrior anime series from back in the day, that was the story of Battle Network 3 and 4 to an extent. And they had some really cool stuff there, some exploration of Proto Man and a lot of the others, and it was its own really cool fleshed out world that and it was another one that, as you progress through the game, that you could go back to all these NPCs and they would have new dialogue for what was going on, what was the given story at a time of, what's going wrong in the real world, because stuff's happening in the virtual world, and they have these implications on each other. So if you got stuck on one, I'll admit, I never actually played the first one, that I started with 3. I've played a little bit of 2, but that I played all of 3, 4, and 5. I don't think I ever got to 6. But 3 and 4 in particular hold a very special place in my heart, and I think they were really, really good for the type of world building and story that you've been saying that you enjoy so much. So maybe just skip over 1. I could easily believe that it didn't have as fleshed out a story, because, well, it's the first in a franchise and they're experimenting with a lot of things. So by the time they get into the later iterations, that they are able to really put more into the story.
Right. Yeah. I
Right?
mean, I once it comes out, I'll give it another shot. I don't know. I might even end up streaming it or something.
And I was able to start on 3, and it did not matter that I had not played 1 or 2. There was no if there was any story that was relevant to 3 that
Mhm.
had happened in 1 or 2, I could not tell.
Right. No, I'm the kind of person where I wanna understand all the references. You
That's
know,
very
like I don't
fair.
want anything to flow over my head. I want the full experience, and that's also one of my downfalls. Um,
Mm,
for example, I was just talking with my mods earlier about Metal Gear Revengeance.
mm.
Um, I have only played through Metal Gear Solid 1. I haven't played any of the others. Um, and they were talking about Metal Gear Revengeance and how I should stream that, how I should play that game. I was like, well, I need to play the other ones. Like, oh, you don't really need to play it to kind of get what's going on. And I'm like, no, I need to get all of the references. Like, I need to understand it all. So now I'm over here thinking, okay, well, now I need to blast through all the Metal Gear games on stream or something.
Well, I I can fully understand the need to. All right, I want to be able to get these references, and I guess the question is, would reading a wiki suffice, or does it need to be I need to firsthand experience all of the things because you don't want to miss even the smallest reference. But I've done every so often if I want to get in on a bit later of a franchise that I'll glance at a Wikipedia article and be like, all right, so these are the major plot beats, so I at least know the basics. Do you think that might suffice for you, or would it really have to be that it knows the grindstone, go through the games?
I gotta go through the game, and the reason being is I collect games, so I already have uh Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and 3. I don't have 4. So I already own them, so now it's like I gotta play through them anyways. So I'm not gonna just, read through like a wiki or anything. I'm just gonna screw it. And then I look at it like, hey, you know what? This would be perfect to stream. I just
Yeah.
blast through the games, and then everybody else can tell me how dumb I'm being or if I can't figure something out.
Hey, at the very least, now that you're streaming and everything, that at least it's content. So at
Yeah.
least you can sort of force yourself and say, all right, well, this at least gives me something to do.
Yeah, exactly.
So I've
That's
missed
how I see it.
going through a couple more follows. King Atticus, Gelgabytes, Theron, Emerald Uchiha, 99, and Gracie Chu. Thank you for the follows. Welcome on in.
Oh, hello.
You mentioned your video game collection, so actually let's shift on over because you were kind enough to send me some pictures
Oh no, which pictures?
that we have here. This frankly glorious double shelf setup
Oh
with
yeah.
all of these games, plushies, memorabilia. I enjoy the very large Snorlax plushie in the upper left corner. Don't worry, folks, about the visuals. That there are some other pictures that we have that will go closer in on certain shelves, so we can go through. But I guess starting from the top here, how many years do these shelves represent for collecting?
I would probably say 8 years. Uh, there's a lot more that I didn't send you because those are kind of in weird places. Like this is the most this is the most organized part. Like there's other parts
Yeah,
of
this is very well presented. That I always like when people put care into their shelves. That I don't collect a ton of stuff, but the things that I do collect, I want to make it so that when I'm glancing at them on the shelves, that it's nice and that there is actual. I can't tell exactly what every piece is, but I can tell that there has been thought into the placement of everything.
Yeah. The thought is this would look nice right here. One of my
Sometimes
mods
that's all you need. Sometimes that's all you need.
One of my mods gives me the business because I didn't alphabetize my games.
Oh,
And they're not even any specific order. They're just up there.
Yeah, no, as we will definitely see for some of these zoomed in ones. But before we go to those, are there any
Oh shit!
specific
Here comes
pieces
Laney.
that you want to call out? Oh dear. Miscellaneous, thank you so much. Rating in with the party of 26. Welcome in, Raiders. This is VTuber Talk. I'm your host, Jay. I'm talking tonight with Dooper, the low poly llama. We're actually just about to start going through his expansive video game and game memorabilia
My dirty
collection.
laundry.
So,
This wasn't my idea.
wasn't his idea, it was mine, but
That
it's
was-
still his pictures. Still his
Oh yeah,
pictures.
it's true. It was supposed to be the Taco Bell Bing. There it is.
There we go.
Do over.
Yes,
Oh my
thank
God.
you so much for the raid, Miscellaneous. Hope you had a good stream. If you need to get going, need to rest, need to get something to eat, please do not feel obligated to stick around. But if you want to stick around, by all means do so. Really appreciate it, you stopping by and bringing your community with you. So welcome on in, folks. Are there any particular pieces, Dooper, that you want to call out before we get to some of the specific shelves that you sent me pictures of?
Yeah, sure, why not? One of my friends in chat, 8-Bit Kitten, was pointing out meow. They weren't just saying meow in chat because they think they're a cat or anything. I know, it's funny. There's the character in the little red hat up there, right below Snorlax. Their name is Meow. They're from Space Dandy.
Oh, that's right. I didn't even recognize that at first because I wasn't zoomed in there. But yes, now that you mention it,
Yeah,
Space Dandy, that's certainly a show.
I found him at Walmart. Couldn't believe it. I love Space Dandy. Looking at that, the giant sriracha bottle is actually pretty memorable. Not really, actually. I saw it at Walmart during Christmas and I had to have it.
Hey, sometimes Walmart does just have good stuff. And I did notice that sriracha bottle up there. I was like, I think that's just a bottle of sriracha, but maybe it's a video game thing. I'm not sure. Couldn't quite tell. So glad to have the confirmation. And just, I am also the type that, like I said, I like to put my much smaller collection of this on shelves, and just sometimes you have this piece and it's not necessarily relevant to the other stuff on the shelf, but it's just really cool and you like it and you're gonna put it up there anyways.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm gonna do.
But I guess let's see here. So starting off, we have this is the NES collection, and like you mentioned, that this is not particularly alphabetized. I will expand this in so we can see a couple of the titles a bit clearer. Um, we have everything from Adventure of Link. We have DuckTales, Adventure Island, Mega Man 2. Are there any specific pieces in here that you really want to call out, either just because they are games that are meaningful to you, or perhaps one that was a bit more difficult to find?
Uh, well, first off, let me say that my NES collection's super weak and horrible, and I know I'm doing horrible. I'm sorry. I know there's a lot of people in chat right now. They're just like, "How could you do this?" But I would probably call out Crystallis, which is that purple one right
Mm,
there.
yep.
I really liked Crystallis. I trust you. Oh my god. See, listen. Everyone's already mad at me. My NES collection is not that great. Okay, I'm sorry. All right, I don't make the rules. So the Crystallis game, I played it. I played it a long time ago, and I could never remember the name of it. And then the cart actually broke.
Oh no.
um yeah, it was horrible. And for years I would try and like talk about it, like, oh yeah, this game, it starts out like this and it has this one song, and I would like hum the song, like, what are you, you're a psychopath. And then years and years later, I've come across the game and I find it again, and it was, I just sat there and I just played through it for about 8 hours. Crystallis is a very fun game. It's like it plays like the first Zelda game. However, there's a leveling system to it.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of story. It's actually really fun, and I always suggest that to people.
Yeah, because admittedly, that is a game that I am not familiar with. The name rings a very faint bell in my mind, but I can't say that I'm really familiar with it in any capacity. So, that's cool. I'm guessing that's not one that's has it ever been ported?
Chrysalis? No, I think that I'm not too sure if it's on the Nintendo Online, but it hasn't. That's my knowledge.
Mm,
Um, Other than that, of course, DuckTales. You can't go wrong with DuckTales.
yeah.
The Mega Man.
Woo.
Oh, you know what? You don't like DuckTales?
No, I was doing DuckTales. Woo.
Oh, I thought you were like, "Woo," like you were about to correct me.
No. No, I was doing the theme song. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
good. We're on the same page. um, the Mega Man games. About a year ago, actually, when I first started VTubing, it was in the middle of my Mega Man marathon. And I
Oh,
played
okay.
through. Yeah, I ended up playing through all of the numerical Mega Man games, so 1 through 11 on stream, and I have a love-hate relationship with Mega Man for the NES because I have 1, 2, and 3, but 4, 5, and 6, oh, and 7 are insanely expensive, and I could never justify it.
Mm. Also, we do have confirmation from Lonk that Chrysalis
It is.
is on Switch Online.
Oh,
Good to
Blanc
know.
would know. Good. Play it. Please play it. It's so good.
I'm trying to see which is the one that has the green $5 price. Let me zoom in.
Oh, I think that's the hockey one. Wait. No, that might be Super Contra. Or that might be Contra. I'm not too sure.
Is
It's like blocked by some stuff on my shelf right now. I moved some stuff around.
no, it's Contra. It's Contra.
It's Contra. Yeah. Ignore that $5 tag. I don't know why that's still there. I did buy it for $5 though.
Where did you get most of these? That were these yard sales? You find them at secondhand stores. That getting this far back, that most GameStops are not going to carry these. That there's a couple of GameStop-esque stores that will carry farther back retro ones, but usually these need to be found in more obscure places.
Yeah, so well, some of them I did buy them at, there is a retro store kind of near me, like 20 minutes away, that I frequent. I grabbed some of them there, but the majority of the games you see, I used to work for a small business in my town, and we specialized in selling or buying and selling video games and electronics. It's kind of a hole in the wall, and we specialized in modding consoles.
Mm.
I was the kind of person that would buy games when they were brought in and resell them, and I also handled modding of the original Xboxes and the Wii's and some Game Boy mod stuff. But a lot of those NES games were games that had come in. I had first dibs. So when somebody
Hmm.
came in with a game that I wanted and we bought it off them, I'd be like, all right, well, this is mine now. I'm a boss. Like, okay.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of those games right there. And if you're looking at the other shelf too, you'll see that there is a boxed Majora's Mask and a box Link to the Past that I also got from that job. Somebody had brought them in. They're like,
Would that
hey,
be with this one? Yes, here it is.
they were just like, hey, I don't, yeah, right there. They're like, hey, I don't really play games. Can you give me like $10 so I can like go get like something to eat? I'm hungry. No, like they legit came in. They were very, very high, I think, and they were like, hey, I want to get a cheeseburger. I was like, okay, here you go.
Well, here you go, buddy.
And then I told my boss, I'm
Go
like,
get
these
that
are mine.
cheeseburger, friend.
Go get that cheeseburger. Yeah, exactly. But
So, skipping a couple generations here, just on up to the N64, since you mentioned it, yeah, that I think this means you would have two copies because the gold cartridge on the left, to my knowledge, I think that Majora's Mask was the only gold cartridge. There were a couple of yellow cartridges, but my guess is that's DK64 on the right.
ooh, good call.
As for blue cartridges, there weren't many of those either, but I'm blanking.
You're never gonna guess what that one is.
I'm just blanking on what the few blue cartridges were to begin with. So, what is it?
That's Tony Hawk.
Okay. I was like, I think it's a sports game of some sort. So at least I was, vaguely in the right vein there. Now, the other one that is clearly visible that catches my eye is Hey You Pikachu. And I'm not sure if you saw this, but I saw it on Twitter just a couple of weeks ago that
think I know what you're
somebody
talking
did
about.
an experiment to see, all right, was the programming on Hey You Pikachu just as bad and clunky as it
Oh my
seems,
gosh.
or was it actually a hardware issue? And they
Oh.
did this elaborate setup to plug a high quality microphone into their N64 controller, and
Yeah.
it worked. So we now know that the voice reading tech was
Yeah.
much better than the game would have you think. It was just the microphone that was
Yeah.
packed into that box was so crappy that it hamstrung the entire game.
Yep. It's funny you actually mentioned that. That was my buddy Mike who did that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, buddy Mike did that experiment.
Nice.
They're actually gonna be streaming that with their microphone sometime.
Hell yeah. I would love to see that game played, with any semblance of pacing.
Yeah, that one right there, that Pikachu, Hey You Pikachu, I got it complete in the box. It popped up on eBay as a quick bid. At the time, I wasn't VTubing yet. I was just doing face cam streams, and my community voted for Hey You Pikachu, and we got it, and I did a whole stream on that, and that was just awful. I don't know. I might revisit it again.
It's such a struggle because the microphone is so bad,
Yep,
so you're having to say the same thing over and over and over again,
exactly.
hoping that the microphone is going to interpret it properly and that Pikachu will respond properly. But um, that's super cool that you actually know the guy, and I'm looking forward to actually seeing somebody play it, like I said, with some semblance of pacing that's not constantly interrupted by multiple voice input attempts.
Oh yeah.
That was one that the commercials made look so cool, and conceptually, game design wise, that's such a fun concept of i- if you're into Pokemon, watching the anime and the idea of being able to talk with your Pokemon, to communicate and to really interact with them essentially like a pet. It was really fun. And that it's not the deepest game in terms of gameplay and mechanics to begin with, but respect for at least trying something a bit out of the box there. And it was just, it's become, frankly, a meme because of how bad that microphone was, I think.
Yeah. It was actually kind of disappointing when you were a kid and you're screaming at Pikachu to
Hmm.
pick up the berries or something. Or I remember like I had enough money to buy something and I wanted Pikachu to buy a specific thing,
Did you buy
but
the
they kept
wrong
going to the
thing?
flower and I was getting mad. I was like, no, don't do that. And like they bought the flower and I was just so upset about it. And then like as they were leaving, they gave it to I think it was like a Togepi that was in there, and I was like
Oh,
screaming at Pikachu. I'm like, no,
and I have to imagine a lot of
no.
parents were not fans of this game because, all right, it's one thing to just sort of hear a game in the background, but it's another to hear the game in the background and your kid constantly yelling the same phrases over and over again.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I need to replay through that game. I might even just use the shitty mic just to make it funnier. I don't want Pikachu to completely understand me. That's not content.
No,
Hey
no,
Pikachu, walk forward, turn right. Okay, cool. High five, Professor Oak. Congratulations, you beat the game, everybody. High five. And then everyone's all clapping. It's like, oh wow, cool, amazing, fan.
yeah,
No, but everybody wants to see the person screaming at Pikachu.
yeah.
What
Now
are
is
you doing?
actually the best time to play unmodded, original, crappy microphone. Hey, you Pikachu, because like you said, at least then it's content that people are going to want to see that struggle, and chat's going to celebrate every time a command is actually interpreted correctly.
Yeah, or interpreted incorrectly, and then I get fart.
That too. So you're hopping back a bit to the SNES. That we have a good number of games here, and I think
Oh no.
so. Are those more N64 games also on the right that we can't see the titles on the top? I'm guessing.
Uh, so those games, those are Super Famicom games. That
Oh,
is
okay,
Japan
okay.
Super Nintendo. Yeah.
Mhm. And we have a good number here. Now you're giggling. So is there something particular here that you want to call out?
No, it's just there. I'm gonna have to address the elephant in the room. Whether you bring it up or I bring it up, just about one of these games. One of these games, two of these games are not like the other, and I'm gonna let you kind of figure it out or let chat figure that out.
I'm just glancing through these, trying to figure out, all right, what is so damn funny? Earthbound Halloween Hack.
Okay, yeah, that's one of them.
Also, Sonic the Hedgehog 4? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Like, I was glancing, I was like,
Oh
4,
my
and,
god.
and on the SNES. Wait a second. You mentioned being in the modding community. Now, did you have a hand in any of these, or are these just mods that you found along the way?
um, what do you mean? Which mod? Are you talking about the EverDrive right there?
Oh no, I'm so. Well, I guess first off, what was my guess correct of Earthbound, Halloween Hack, and Sonic the Hedgehog 4 being the two titles to call out?
Mm-hmm.
So, I assume these are homebrew games.
Yes. So, the Sonic the Hedgehog 4 is a homebrew hack, a ROM hack. It is a ROM hack of Sonic 3 and Sonic Knuckles, and it's put on a Super Nintendo cartridge. I got it because I thought it was hilarious, and it was for the memes, and it also cost like $5. So why not?
Good deal.
I grabbed it off. I grabbed it off of Wish.com.
Oh my
I
god!
don't
So
know. I don't.
that means that this is a more recent acquisition too.
Yeah, actually, it was. I want to say I got that one like 3 years ago. Now the Halloween hack. I can't believe it. Oh my god, Blanc, if you're in here right now, I'm on Vtuber Talk talking about Halloween hack Earthbound. What a great day for the Earthbound community. So for those of you who do not know, Halloween hack Earthbound, or Earthbound Halloween hack is Undertale 0. That is Toby Fox's first right there.
Okay.
I'm not streaming it. Oh my gosh. It's just.
Is it TOS stuff or is it just not good?
Oh yeah. Oh, there's some TOS stuff in there, but it's this joke. And when I saw it, when I saw that somebody had put it on a cartridge, I just leaped on how to grab it. I got it for the jokes, and that's why I was cracking up right when you started this. Homestuck is the Undertale bait. Oh my gosh. All right. Yeah, but like, you can't really see it though. But to the right, you'll see end base, kind of on a cartridge,
Yes,
like that
yeah.
far right one.
Mhm.
So that is Mega Man and Bass. Mega Man Bass never came out on Super Nintendo. It came out on the Super Famicom in Japan. In America, we got it on the GBA. Somebody took the GBA version and slapped it onto a Super Nintendo cart, and that's what that is. And I grabbed it because I have lost control of my life, and I think it's funny to have physical carts of things like that.
Things that shouldn't exist.
Yeah, basically. But on a more serious note, on here you'll see Mega Man X 1, 2, and 3. Mega Man X is very dear to my heart, along with Link to the Past. I don't think Link in the Past is in there. I can't really tell. It's really small. It might be in.
No, it's there. It's the one that it's difficult to see because it's in the dark green text on the left.
Yeah, that Link to the Past. That is one of those games that we've drawn heavy inspiration from for Toasty.
Yeah, glancing at some of the art, that I was like, this looks like Link to the Past. That it's high-end SNES visuals of like it's really good polished pixels that you've got good colors in there. Just actually, I will bring up that one of the things you also sent me was a GIF of I'm guessing it's a boss battle of some sort, because you have characters in front of this very large, menacing tree with sort of glowing tendrils.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's funny you say that. We actually have the artist in chat right now.
Oh,
It's _Voxid.
Well, hey, it's Voxid, who actually just joined the chat. Welcome on in. You have good timing.
Yeah, they made all that art you see right there,
Fantastic.
and my model.
Oh.
I should probably add that in there too. They also made the Game Boy Man.
Hey. So, are you able to say who or what it is we are looking at, or is that still hidden parts of the game?
Oh, that's just a bad time for everybody. That's all I can really say.
It does not look like a good time, to be sure.
No.
That this looks like it is about to be a boss battle. So,
Oh, there's some stuff about to happen in that picture. The obvious bad guy you see, that's Larm. And then below that you have Marshall, who is the player, and they are standing next to Rowan the Witch. And it looks like they're standing in front of a tree with marshmallows on it, and like some sort of like, I don't know, portal in that tree. That's weird looking. But yeah, that's
Whatever could it
crazy.
be?
Well, whatever. I don't know.
We'll have to get the game and find
Sheesh.
out.
I don't know. Get the director on the phone. Where they at? Hold on. Is this thing on? Hello?
Hello,
No,
hello,
no,
director? No.
No, they said that they're not taking calls right now.
Oh, how
I will not
unfortunate.
elaborate for this. I'm kidding.
Yeah, so we have that, but also you sent me this preview image that this is actually available on the website, lovingly named pocketllama.com.
Mm-hmm.
And the game was, memory serves, 180% funded on Kickstarter.
Wow. Was it 180%? I remember it was $105,000 raised.
That it was a successful Kickstarter.
It was very successful. The goal was 25K.
Okay, in that case, it definitely wasn't that, because that would have been 400% at that point.
Yeah. Saiyan always points out double Undertale's Kickstarter funding. Listen, nobody knew what Undertale was going to be at that point, so we'll see what happens.
Yes, you have it available for wishlisting now on Steam. The release date is still TBA. That no final timeline has been announced, but that Toasty is in active production. I know that is something that you and your team over at Pocket Llama are very, very passionate about, and I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. And I'm guessing / hoping that are you gonna sort of allow yourself to be the first to stream it and say, all right, even before it goes live, that you're gonna play a dev build of some sort, or are you gonna keep everything completely under wraps until proper release?
So I've been talking to Vox as well as some of my mods. What I'm going to be doing once Twitch decides to stop hating me and give me my check mark. Hold on. That's better. I am going to stream development on the game. I'm gonna start doing some of that.
Okay.
The cool thing is a lot of the different things that we're adding to the game. I can do them out of context and nobody will understand anything what's going on. I'll keep the heavy spoiler stuff off stream. Nobody will see that, but like some of the world building, some of the NPC stuff, some of them good sequences and whatnot, I'll be able to stream work on that.
Okay, that's cool. And, certainly for you being able to kill two birds with one stone and just, be able to work on it while doing things with chat. But also for you, it's going to be that extra level of fun because, like you said, out of context, people are going to have no idea what they're looking at. And it'll probably actually be something really special for the folks that are tuning in, because then after the fact, if they go and play the game and see these things that they saw you working on, that they will get to have those really special epiphany moments of, oh my gosh, I saw this being made and now I understand.
Yeah, exactly. One of my good friends actually streams development on their game Heartbound. And I kind of hang out in there and watch them work and stuff. And everything that they're doing, they're adding a lot of story intense heavy moments, but they're so out of context, nobody can really kind of like, nothing really gets spoiled for them.
But your friend the streamer there could be, like getting choked up and really emotional, knowing what they're doing. It's like, oh man, this is something really special happening here, something really weighty happening here, and chat's just clueless.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But to answer what you said about streaming it or playing the game, I'm probably not going to do that, because by the time Toasty releases, I'm probably going to not want to play it.
That is entirely fair.
And I'm probably going to end up going into hiding. I'm not going to lie.
Again, very fair. Of just, I work for a game developer myself, and goodness knows I do not play the games that I work on off the clock. It's just, you get so close to it that even if you are the director of the game and that you have a very personal stake in it, that at a certain point you need to sort of step back, because, at a certain point, a level of burnout is going to be natural, or at the very least, you're going to want to make sure that you keep the distance to avoid burnout as much as possible. But then also, like you said, it's very natural and understandable that once it's out in the wild, that there's going to be natural nerves regarding, okay, what is the actual public perception? Do people like
Yeah.
the game? And that, is sort of letting yourself have that space, I think,
Right.
is perfectly healthy. And inevitably, at some point in time, you're going to actually have to read the reviews, read the comments. But saying, okay, I'm going to wait a week for, at least initial stuff to die down and to wait to see what consensus is. Because, sometimes that first 24 hours might be really good or really bad. That's when you're gonna have some super vocal folks, but you want to wait until you have a broader consensus or more data points to actually figure out, okay, what do people at large think? And
Right.
allowing yourself that space, I think, is very, very understandable. So if there is a brief vacation for Dooper around the release date, at that point, certainly you will have earned a break.
Mm. I will never feel like I earned a break. Just want to point that out.
I think there are very few people who think they ever earn a break. That it's just when you are a content creator or a developer or an artist of any form, that just first rule, you're never going to be satisfied with your own work. That you're always going to see the flaws much more than any player or consumer or outside viewer will, because you're that familiar with it, because all right, I spent a lot of time on this particular aspect because I wasn't satisfied with it, and that I might not be satisfied with it now, but I knew we had to move forward and ship, and so I let it be okay. But I still don't like it, and that it makes me feel and like you said, just allowing yourself to take a break can be a challenging thing. It's something you see with a lot of streamers saying, oh gosh, I don't want to take a day off, or I'm really, really sorry, everyone, but I'm not going to stream tonight. And
Yeah.
fortunately, usually most communities are understanding of, yes, please take a day off. We understand. But the little voice in the back of your head will still be screaming, no, don't do it, don't do it.
Yeah. I know how that feels.
The most important thing is that even if it doesn't feel like you've earned it, that you do force yourself to take that break.
Yeah. So the thing is with all that good stuff, my idea of a break is to put myself into my hobbies and what I enjoy doing. My hobbies and what I enjoy doing is content creation and game making. So I'm kind of like eventually at this point where I'm just, I'm like sitting on the couch and I'm hanging out with my wife Bloops, and I'm just like, I don't know what to do with my hands. Like, what's going on? Like, it's very hard for me to really relax. I always feel like I need to be productive. I am my own worst enemy, and I do not take the advice that I give my friends about how they should take breaks. To go off what you said about a little bit ago about when the game first releases and being caught up with that, my friend just recently released a game on all platforms called Frogun, whatever you want to call it. Froggen. It's a low poly game, surprisingly, kind of like what we were just talking about a little bit ago. And you use a frog as a gun to grapple onto walls and whatnot. And there's a bunch of stages. It's inspired by Mega Man Legends, Crash Bandicoot, and all that good stuff. I've been talking to them throughout this first week since they've released the game, and they were like giving me advice and telling me like how it is for them. It is so hard not to fixate on the one or two people that have a problem with the game.
Yep.
It is so hard. Frog on sweep, yeah.
It doesn't matter what you're making, if you are a visual artist, if you're a game creator, if you're a composer, a musician, that the negative voices always stick with you. That you can read 100 positive comments, people saying, oh my gosh, I love this game, this is amazing, I'm addicted to this game, I stayed up all night playing this game. It's the one comment of, this sucks.
Yeah.
That just sort of it sticks with you, and you keep thinking about it, and you keep wanting to go back, and just it's a human thing, for better or worse, mostly worse in this case, that's just sort of how it is.
Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard not to really fixate on that with Frogun. uh, I wrote a nice review about Frogun, my unbiased opinion about the game, and I couldn't help but I wanted to look at the negative reviews, and there was one negative review. Somebody wrote a negative review because they couldn't figure out the controls. I'm over here just like, after
Okay,
Toasty releases,
at this
I'm
point,
gonna
that's
be.
your problem.
I know, but you can't just reply to them and be like, "Hey, how
Yeah.
about you like learn how to play the
How,
game before you write a review?"
how about you go through the tutorial?
Yeah. It's funny because I've already gotten feedback on some of the game's production. Just the other day, I even took a screenshot of this. We had somebody in the Toasty Discord. I posted a sneak peek of the intro tutorial cinematic that happens in Toasty. It kind of does like this. It gives you a story moment. It does this quick run through on how to play the game, like how to do the combat, and it ends. It just kind of like throws you in, gives you story, shows you how to do it, and bam, it's over in like 5 minutes, not even. And I had somebody in the Discord say that there is too much dialogue. Yeah, there's too much dialogue and too much story at the beginning. Everybody else was praising it. Everybody was just loving it. It was great. I was loving it. I was like, this is perfect. It's not too heavy. It's not too strong. It's like the perfect amount. And this one person said that, and I was just like, oh, what did I tell them? I think I told them to suck my butt. I don't remember. I ended up deleting it because I didn't want. I deleted my comment because I didn't want to be like that mean person,
Yeah,
I didn't take any constructive criticism, but like everybody else, even Blanc in here, just like came in and were just like, "Oh, actually, let me explain to you why you're wrong." But
and
it's hard.
It obviously all this is certainly easier said than done. Like you said, it's the type of thing that it's very easy to tell others, "Oh, this is how you should approach things," or "This is how you should think about things," and it's entirely different when it's actually you and your work and your blood, sweat, and tears that is being scrutinized. But it's if it's just one person, it's an anomaly. If it is 5 people saying the same thing, maybe it's worth looking at. But then also just how is the feedback written? Is it "This sucks," period? Meh, I'm less likely to give that weight. If someone gives me details of, like, this is why I think this isn't good, or this is the specific part I think this isn't good, that I'm going to give a bit more to, but, that is the ideal. That is I have a clear mind and am not emotionally invested at this moment. But, like you said, when it is just, months, years of your time that has gone into something that even the passing comments are going to sting, and it's just it's something that you have to sort of just learn over time how to process. And for each person, the way that you find to best and most healthily process is going to be different. It's just finding what is best for you.
Right. I've actually had I've had I don't think I've had people that outright said like, "Oh, it sucks," or anything like that, but I have had people where they have details like what their gripe is, and then they have like a detail on like why and how, and like, and then how it should be. And
oh boy, armchair developers.
Yeah, I've gotten a few of those actually. I think like during the Kickstarter campaign, I had somebody in the Discord say that Marshall, they're like, "Oh, I don't think they should use a sword. I think they should use a stick because s'mores," and like they had like paragraphs written out, and then it's like they should run, or they should lead a marshmallow army, and actually Zelda-like style is overdone. You should probably just try and go for
they're at that
road.
point, you're not even criticizing, you're rewriting the entire game. At that point, you are. I think it's a delicate balance, especially early in a game's production, that obviously you want feedback. And I think the idea of, I think it might be cool if instead of a sword he had a stick, because flavorfully it makes sense with s'mores and marshmallows.
Yeah.
And sort of leave it at that. I think that is a reasonable
right
comment if phrased appropriately.
Right.
But
Oh,
then if you're, going into all these different things of, I think you should completely redesign your game from the ground up. Okay, buddy,
yeah.
back off.
Yeah. They straight up told me they're like, hey, there's too many Zelda-like games out there. Make a roguelike. I'm like,
How about you make a
did
roguelike,
you
buddy?
just
How about
did
you do that? If
listen to yourself? Did you just say there's too many Zelda-likes? I should make a roguelike? Oh my gosh. You got those both flipped completely. Now the thing is, when it comes to Toasty, and I actually replied and I explained this to them. I said that you are not a you are not a marshmallow with a sword and a shield. You are not a marshmallow as a knight. You are a knight as a marshmallow. The story isn't based on the fact that you are a marshmallow. You just so happen to be a marshmallow. So when you're kind of going across that and like that's your entire theme, it kind of throws off on what the story is actually leading to. So
yeah,
but
no, well, what you just did is exactly what you believe. Somebody gives feedback, and then you say yes, no, and this is because. And here is why, and like, especially for folks who might not have much past the key art and a couple basic things that that phrasing right there of you are a knight who happens to be a marshmallow, not a marshmallow who happens to be a knight. I think that's a very important distinction, and the fact that you're aware of that as the director for the literal direction of your game, a really good thing to have. And
the original. No, go on. Go on.
But basically saying that the fact that you're already thinking on those levels is really good for your direction, because it means that you're able to parse through that type of feedback and figure out, all right, which pieces of feedback aren't worth using because of all these other things that we've already created or written for the game.
Right, exactly. Originally, when the first idea of Toasty spawned together, we actually played with the idea of them using a stick and a graham cracker shield. That was one of the original things. But then the game became more about you being a marshmallow than what we were really trying to do. So we dialed that back. That was like original direction. But as the game and as the story got more fleshed out, that changed.
Yeah, makes sense.
And the comment about there's too many roguelikes. There's not. I haven't told a whole lot of people this. I think I told Game Rants when I interviewed with them during the Kickstarter campaign. But Toasty, the original reason why Toasty became to be, to even the idea where it originally spawned from, was because Voxid and we were trying to find a new Zelda-like game to play, and we beat Moonlighter, which is a really good game, and there's like a few others, but there weren't a whole lot of Zelda-like games that were kind of like scratching that itch that we wanted. A lot of the Zelda-likes we find.
You make the game you want to see in the world. That the Thanos.
Exactly.
Fine, I'll do it myself.
That was literally it, because there's like, we have this Zelda-like game here, and it's just like, oh, it's a farming sim with Zelda-like elements. Okay, that's fine. It's like, oh, this is a roguelike with Zelda-like elements. It's like, no, that's not what I want. I'm like, what I want is something reminiscent of Minish Cap, Link's Awakening, Link to the Past, enough story that would be found in more of a later game, but not too much to where it derails and makes the character or make the person playing the game feel overwhelmed, as well as not an insanely open world game where after you escape Helgen and Skyrim and you're thrown into the open world and you're like, where the hell do I go? And then you turn the game off because you're just so overwhelmed. You're like, where do I go? What do I do? I wanted to play a game that was immediately just like, I got put on the tracks, not like hand holding tracks, but just like the adventure, and I just went. And that's why we started working on Toasty, actually. So when somebody says, when somebody said like, you should make it a roguelike, there's too many Zelda, I'm just like, where are they? Where are these Zelda games?
Yeah, show them to me.
Show me where all these Zelda likes are, and I will play them. I've played a lot of the different indie ones, and I can honestly say there aren't a whole lot, and we need more. I don't know why people think that for some reason.
Here you are with yours, and like I said, you have not made any commitments regarding release date. if you had to make a guess, not of time, I'm not gonna ask you to like give any estimate of date, but uh, where do you feel like you are in terms of, I suppose, phases? That would you say that you're in like do you feel like you're still in your alpha phase? Do you think you've broken into your beta phase? Are you in late development already?
So I don't wanna label it anything.
That's fair.
Um,
That's very fair.
but we are very early on with the game. But what we are doing right now, just to kind of like give an idea, is we are currently perfecting, and I'm going to be putting this out in the next Kickstarter backer update. We are perfecting the sequence, the sequence system, as well as the dungeon manager system and the trade sequence system for the game. Now, the game is going to have a lot of trade quests in the game, like Link's Awakening. If you've ever played, you have, so you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get the stick, you give it to the guy, knocks down the honeycomb, get the honeycomb, stuff like that. Yeah, there's a big one in Toasty, and there's also a sub one in Toasty as well. And we just got done finishing up finishing up to. Well, we're not completely done with it, but we're finishing up those. And what's really cool about that is once the sequence system is complete, 100% done, every sequence we make from here on out is going to just be plug and play.
Yeah,
So-
no, that you're building, like
Yeah.
you said, that system, that you're building
Right.
the program foundation of something that is going to be reused multiple times, and that's really big. That just systems development is one of the most intensive parts of development because
Yes.
it is so far-reaching. Because the decisions that you make in this phase right now will have all those implications for every time you use it and type of thing.
Right.
You want to make sure that one, as a developer, that it is a developer friendly tool set, that you don't want it to be super complex and time intensive, that if you want to add or change things, that you're going to have to spend hours doing reprogramming. You want it to be something that, like you said, is a good plug and play system, and that it's better to spend more time on system development now, so you're spending less time on the use of the tool, the system, later.
Right. Exactly. And that's what we're currently doing right now. We're finishing up the dungeon manager part and then the trade sequence. I actually got to showcase a little bit of the trade system on Screenshot Saturday on the Toasty Twitter. We were able to show kind of like a little trade sequence. There's a lot more to that entire sequence. I just showed off a tiny clip of it, but it's really exciting because once these systems are done, which we're nearing the end of those systems being implemented. When I stream game development, I can literally stream me creating cutscenes in different sequences and a lot of like juicy story moments, side stories, characters, dialogue, all that good stuff. I get to stream that, and that's going to be really exciting for people to watch.
That's awesome. And just I think it is good that you have not put a date out there, because obviously one of the things that is most difficult to change is expectations. And a lot of the time, having no expectation is the best expectation for you as a developer, because, at some point it might be good to say something vague to at least give reassurance and to give yourself a deadline, because there's a risk sometimes of, if you never say any date at all, that you can just get yourself stuck in a cycle, and that sometimes forcing yourself into a deadline can be healthy, but not at the beginning.
Right.
That not when you're developing your systems. That it might be something that you say, all right, in however many months or maybe a year, that you might want to say, okay, we're gonna give like a quarter release window or something. But it's the type of thing that, if situations change, if someone on the team, if something in their life changes to where they are not able to dedicate as much time to the game, or if you realize after the fact, oh wait, something that we thought, that there's something wrong with the system, where we put this time and effort into it and we thought it was very good, but we realized that we need to change something either programmatically because it's turned out to be more difficult to use than we like, or because there's a directional change that eh, nobody likes, that what wound up becoming a meme of the message from CD Projekt Red of we are delaying the game this many months
Yeah.
again and again and again and again.
Right.
You don't want to do that, and just saying it's ready when it's ready
Right.
is that's how it should be until you are like 95% done.
Hmm.
You should not put something out there that you aren't very reliably confident that you can deliver on.
Absolutely, absolutely. That is a huge thing, and I'm constantly bringing that up when we have our dev meets and we're working on Toasty. That's something that we reflect on a lot. It's the minute something stops being fun, we kind of just stop. We stop
Hmm.
ourselves and we really just think about it because we want this game to be as like very fun to develop. And if we're having fun making the game, people are gonna have fun playing it,
Yep,
you know. So we also have our own personal deadlines that we've set for ourselves, but those aren't exactly public.
exactly.
um
Yes,
we're
that
working with a
internal
publisher.
deadlines are good. That you should always have
Yeah,
internal deadlines
exactly.
of I'm going to get into a bit of game industry jargon here of your vertical slices or your
Yep.
milestones and
Hmm.
all that jazz, because naturally you want to keep yourself at a pace and make sure that you're making progress in one way or another. But no, you're not going to post out
Yeah.
on the Discord or on the Kickstarter saying, today
Right.
we finished vertical slice 6.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Just I mean, like I can showcase different bits of where we are in terms of development, but I don't really want to put out a date or anything
Yeah.
because then it's like, okay, people are gonna be expecting it by this point. And what
Hmm.
and even what Blanc just said in the chat, do people not have massive backlogs of games to play while they wait for upcoming games to come? I um I think not even to call out anybody or anything on Kickstarter and stuff, but people tend to forget that the Kickstarter platform itself is to help the creation
Hmm.
of what it is. It's not limited pre-orders open for 30 days or anything. I know some things do that. That's not what Toasty was.
Yeah. And
Toasty was, hey, help us develop this game and like you get some perks out of it. Um
yeah, the
and
ones that are doing like pre-orders, usually that's when it's manufacturing based. That
yeah.
other areas of game that I'm a fan of. Like I play Magic the Gathering, and I've seen deck boxes done on Kickstarter, and the design is there, and everything is essentially finalized, and it's just okay. We This is essentially the funding of the scale production, because you can't just make one or two
Right.
when you're manufacturing. You have to do thousands and thousands, and you need to make sure that they're gonna sell, and that's a reliable way to do it, or that there will be some board games that are, this is developed, we have the prototypes made, and that this is how we are going to bring the game to market. But
Right.
that is much less common for a video game, because it's much more likely to be the situation we have here, where it is, all right, you are funding the development, not
Right.
the manufacturing.
Exactly. And it's funny because I just the other day I got an email from one of our backers. Not gonna no names or anything, but one of them they they emailed us and said, "Hey, I don't know if you've asked us yet or anything, but I want my copy to be for the Switch." It's like the campaign was like 3 months ago.
Come on.
I'm over here like trying, like we're working really hard, we're doing our best, and I'm just like, well, I'm feeling rushed right now. But when it comes to the game, we are not going to release the game until we are 100% happy with the product. It's not going to be
Hmm.
rushed. I refuse to cut anything that doesn't really need to be cut, and I don't mean like we're feature creeping or anything. Um, I refuse to cut content that we have added to the game because we've already gone through it and like trimmed the fat, and made sure
Yeah.
that we always take every time we add anything new, we always look at it like, okay, are we feature creeping right now? No.
Mhm.
Okay, why? What is this for? Like, what exactly does this for? Does this connect to anything? And then sometimes it'll be like, does this connect to anything? No, but it's really, 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 really funny. Let's do it. You know.
Yeah,
So
and there it's also the it's the balancing act of, all right, this is a thing we want to add. Like, if it doesn't connect anything, but it's really funny, how long does it take to implement? It takes an hour to
right.
put in because we want to add this little small side quest
Mhm.
dialogue tree. Okay, sure, we
Right.
can add that. That's not
Yeah.
uh,
If,
it, it, and
go
it's
on.
just
Sorry.
making those different decisions. And it sounds like you and your team are, you know, being very cognizant of that. That it, for those who might not be familiar with the jargon, feature creep is essentially sometimes in development, and this could be for games, software, or even normal tangible products. The idea of adding something more that wasn't initially part of your scope or spec or plan, and that somebody has a really cool idea, and it's like, oh, this would be nice to add in. And if you add it in without consideration, that, all right, how long does it take to add in, how much
Right.
resources, money does it take to add in,
Yeah.
and the decision of what is worth the additional time, money, and effort.
Right. Like Mario, let's give Mario a gun. Okay, how long is that gonna take? Okay, it's gonna take this amount of time. Okay, that's doable. Is it necessary? Why would he have a gun? Okay, well that doesn't make sense because of this. Later on in the game, they get this projectile auto making the gun basically useless. Like, you really gotta like really look at it from so many different angles and see if, okay, this doesn't make any sense, or it's just it doesn't connect at all, or it just feels very out of place, and then you got to remove it or just don't do it.
Hmm. I feel
Don't
like
give Mario a gun.
don't get Mario a gun. They gave Shadow a gun, and we all saw how that went.
Yeah, greatest game of all time. A plus, 100%, 10 out of 10 IGN. Not enough water. Sonic the Hedgehog, ladies and gentlemen, GameCube and PS2.
Well, no, I was thinking that not Sonic the Hedgehog, that was Shadow the Hedgehog.
Yeah, I meant Shadow.
But
Oh my gosh.
you mentioned a couple ones there. So actually, returning to the Shelfo games, I'm gonna bring up the GameCube one here, because here on this shelf you have what we just mentioned, one of my personal favorite games of all time, and that's Sonic Adventure 2.
Oh yes.
That GameCube,
Oh yes.
like I said, was the first home console that I owned, so I have a good amount of nostalgia for GameCube. The first two games that I owned were Smash Bros. Melee and Sonic Adventure 2. And Sonic Adventure 2, to this day, nostalgically remains one of my favorite games of all time, but also I hold it up as just, I'm not going to call it one of the best games of all time, but I think it has held up remarkably well over time.
Mm.
The other piece is that I unironically love Crush 40 and that
Oh
game's
yeah.
soundtrack.
Oh yeah.
Holy cow, just it, put
Oh my
Crush
god.
40 in the Sonic movies, you cowards.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there, 100%. And you're talking to the right community, because everyone's a huge Sonic Adventure 2 fan and Crush 40 fan. I'm gonna call Sonic Adventure 2 one of the best games of all time. Okay, all right. So, Sonic Adventure 2 though, I'm actually with you on that one, because, God, I never really give it that much thought, but Sonic Adventure 2 is the only game that I have purchased 3 times because I played the game so much that the disc stopped working.
Oof,
It is the
yeah.
only game I did that. And the Chow Garden is
Oh my
just
gosh.
amazing.
It's another game on top of it. And the fact that they have never had a Chow Garden since is a war crime.
Oh yeah, and they know that we all want Chow Gardens, and they even said they're not going to do it.
It-
There was an
I-
interview. I don't know if you saw that. They actually asked about it, and they said no plans. We're not doing that. They're like, what is the one thing that fans ask for? Chow Garden. Okay, so you know that they want a Chow Garden. Are you going to put a Chow Garden in Frontiers? No. Do you have any plans to? No. You know that's what your audience wants, and you're not doing it.
you're
I'm over
not.
here just
Why?
like, why? Oh my gosh. But
I remember crying when my favorite Chow went into that great cocoon because I hadn't gotten all the qualifications for it to reincarnate.
No.
Actual heartbreak.
That is so heartbreaking. Have you ever had to throw them into the
GBA?
Game Boy and get rid of
Yes,
them?
I did.
I had to do
You
that the
bet
other
your
day.
ass that I put him into Sonic Advance Purgatory.
I had to do that the other day actually. I was racing a friend, and we were racing the dark route of what was it, dark or it was light, and we raced to the end, and then I went to the Chow Garden, silly me, and I didn't have enough space on my memory card for Chow data, and I broke open one of the eggs, so I either had to leave and the Chow would cease to exist, or put them in the Game Boy Advance to go to the faraway forest so they can live happily ever after. And I had to make that decision on stream, and then everyone's making me feel bad, calling me a Chow killer. But I'm telling you right now, I did what was best. It was hard for me. But Sonic Adventure 2 is definitely one of the greats. And is the game perfect? Absolutely not. Is it buggy? Oh, you wouldn't believe it.
The camera every so often is just not going to cooperate.
When you start doing City Escape, if you hold left on the analog stick, you fall out of bounds and die, like right at the beginning. Like, the game's buggy. It's incredibly buggy, but it is so fun, and it actually had a pretty good story. Was it a very stupid story?
Oh,
yes, it was.
But it was a cool story.
Fun.
It was a cool story.
And as a kid, and you're playing through that, I actually, for the longest time, I would actually get really emotional and upset about the ending of Sonic Adventure 2, because of what happens to a specific character.
Yep.
And leaving on that, and I'm a big fan of tragedies and stuff in games. I think that stuff's, like, if it's told right, it is beautiful. And that character, and they just cease to exist. And I was like, oh, this is so sad. And then I heard about Shadow the Hedgehog, the game. I was like, oh, he's back from outer space.
Like, you could tell that they were trying to do some interesting stuff with Shadow's lore, and that it just got a little convoluted of just, okay, so there were these copies, these clones, but a lot of them were robots, and which was the original? Did the original survive? Was the original the one from 2 or not? And it's one of those things that Shadow the Hedgehog as a game, hopping back to that mess for a moment, that
Oh yeah, that's right.
I think the greatest crime of that game was the fact that you had to play it 16 times, and it was a fun enough game to play through, I would say, even 3 times, like your average Sonic game, that you have your light, dark, and your neutral go through, and sure, that's fine, but the fact that there was 16 different endings, it was Detroit Become Human before Detroit Become Human.
Yeah.
Just all those branching paths, and it was just too much because the progression to get there got really stale after 3 plays.
Yeah. I recently was testing that copy of Shadow. I was just playing around with it. I was streaming it on the Discord, and I just couldn't help but laugh because I was taking out military people, and Sonic was telling me how to properly use the gun. Sonic's just like, press the A button to shoot your gun, and I'm just like taking out the military, where he would have otherwise said, hey, those are on our side. But Sean Blanc was there. I was just taking him out. I was just, oh my gosh, that game though.
Meanwhile, it is brought up in chat, Sonic 3 is going to be out on December 20th, 2024, and just, I'm assuming you've seen the 2 films?
Yes, I have.
I legitimately think those are 2 of the best video game films that have ever actually been released. Again, not going to call them perfect. They aren't Oscar winners, but damn, are they fun.
Well, you think about it this way. When you look at Sonic and the story of Sonic and stuff, it's not, the Sonic story in the games and whatnot is not A+.
Oh.
It's cheesy, it's silly, and that's what the movies did. Personally, I would like less of the human characters, but that's just me.
No, I very much agree that
gotta relate to the parents in the audience.
At the very least, the casting of Jim Carrey as Robotnik is inspired, and
oh my god, it's so good.
It absolutely perfect. Definitely in the sequel that a lot of people, most I would say at this point, most agree that the human subplot and pseudo-romantic subplot is the weak part of it. And At the very least, it's not. I found it palatable. It was definitely the low point, but I didn't think that it
Yeah.
ruined the movie.
Oh no,
Um,
no, it was fun. I had a good time,
yeah,
like
it
when
did
the
some,
sister was going after that guy or in the golf cart or something because he
and at the
lied to
very
her.
least, I appreciated lore-wise the establishment of Gun.
Oh yeah, definitely, because
I
that's gonna.
appreciate, and then just the post-credit stinger of
Oh
y-
yes, oh
spoiler alert,
yes,
shadows happen,
yeah.
shadows happening. Just
Oh
look,
my gosh.
y-
I watched that in the Discord for the first time. I think Dreamy Boo's in chat right now. I think they were having a pretty bad day or a low day, and I was like, hey, let's watch Sonic 2 together. I haven't seen it
mhm.
yet. And we watched it together, and I remember we were just screaming about that post credits part. There was a few moments in that made me scream. The Jim Carrey of Eggman's robot that he
Yes,
formed. I was screaming about that and because of the reference, and I was also screaming about um the name of the coffee shop was the Mean
Mean
Bean
Bean,
Machine.
Mean Bean.
I couldn't believe it. I was just they did not just reference, oh my god. I was so happy about that.
Yes, that I caught that on the first establishing shot. I was like, oh my god, they actually named it Mean Bean.
I
It was
could not believe
amazing. Just
the minute I saw that, it's like runs a coffee shop, a coffee shop. I'm like, what if they named it oh my god, they did it. No way.
the absolute Mad Lads.
I was losing it. And there are some people out there that actually crap on the movie because they don't like they're like, well, that's not my Eggman. And it's just like Jim Carrey made it their own. It's not
Yeah,
the same Eggman. It's a different like
not.
it's not the same Knuckles, it's not the same Sonic, it's not the same Tails. It's a different version of it, and you need to accept it. And Jim Carrey made it their own, and I loved it. I think, my personal opinion, Jim Carrey is one of the best parts of the film.
Oh,
Period.
undoubtedly. That even back in 2019, when we had the first iteration of the Sonic movie trailer, that horrific abomination, I was still planning to see the movie just for Jim Carrey because I was like,
Oh
Jim
yeah,
Carrey as Eggman alone. This is a selling point for me. I'll see it, and I will probably be horrified by every time Sonic's on screen. But you could tell that Jim Carrey as Eggman was gonna be amazing, and he lived up to it. And then they actually went back and made Sonic look good, and it was just good.
yeah,
And
it was great.
I left that film being like, it, it's not an Oscar-winning film, but it's especially for the video game community that we are used to being just beat down with
Mhm.
bad adaptations. That I walked out of that and was like, that was fine. That was, dare I say, good.
Mhm.
Did I actually enjoy this game adaptation? Am I allowed to feel this emotion?
Exactly. And, a lot of people were actually spreading around rumor because there was an interview with Jim Carrey that was misinterpreted. Everybody thought he was going to go into retirement from
Yes,
acting,
yeah,
but it came back to him saying he was taking a break
yeah.
from acting, but he's going to come back to it. And he loves being Eggman. He wants to wear the fat suit, which I think is
Yeah.
hilarious.
And the directors have
Perfect.
said that if Jim Carrey chooses to step away from acting, that there will not be recasting.
Yeah, which is crazy to think. Jim Carrey was just it's so perfect, and like
One
the
of the
ending of the
greatest
first
character
movie.
actors of our time.
Exactly, and then people are like, why isn't he bald? Why isn't he fat? Why doesn't he have a big mustache? And it's
We're
just
having a
like,
transformation that the Jim Carrey, the rather Robotnik in the
mhm,
first movie is very different from the second one. That you have
yeah,
the mustache going from this clean, suave one to the big bushy crazy one. That you have that
mhm,
progression, his descent into madness. Now I
yeah,
do have
exactly.
a thought experiment for you, Dooper, because
So,
the Sonic movies have come up on several shows in the past,
of course.
and the question becomes: a lot of heads were turned when they announced Idris Elba as Knuckles. That you know, it, mixed feelings happened. I thought he did. I thought he did fine. I thought he did pretty well. Wasn't
Mhm,
necessarily what I expected, but I thought it
mhm,
was a solid performance, and I definitely enjoyed it more than I thought I would. But
mhm,
the question here is, since we have the established precedent of Idris Elba, it sort of feels like we could get anyone that they can bring in some A-list stars to be these roles. So the question is, you are the casting director. Who do you cast as Shadow?
Oh,
And
that's tough.
it can be anybody in Hollywood that you want.
Chris Pratt.
Hmm.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I don't know. The thing is, I haven't even given it any thought at all. Ooh, 1 second. What's his name? I gotta remember. Uh, Carl Urban, I think. Carl Urban is he was in the Thor movie, but one of the bigger he was also in Chronicles of Riddick. I would say, have you ever seen that Doom movie from like 2013 or 2012, 2010 or something? I don't know. He was the first thing that kind of popped in my head, and the only reason why I can really is just say that is because I usually do the Sonic voices in all of the shit posts that I make. So
Yes, I have seen
I
those.
don't know. And as casting director, casting myself would be incredibly conceited and full of myself, and I can't do that. So I don't know. Honestly, I
The two
don't
that
know.
have come to mind for me, the first that came to mind for me was Benedict Cumberbatch.
Really?
That just for some reason I could see them, you know, not quite Smaug, but
Mhm.
just Cumberbatch is able to do a good dark voice, and I could see them making him British. Just they didn't have Idris Elba change his normal accent for it. That all right, if they're able to do that for Knuckles, that I could see, you know, I guess Shadow is a bit British, and that'd be okay. But I think that the
Yeah.
vocal range should work. The other one that I forget which guest it was that had this idea, but Robert Pattinson.
Really?
Yeah,
Was that
that
Johnny Jellyjaw? I swear I'm gonna
it,
DM them after this and
it
call them
is
out.
entirely possible that it could have been him. I'm not 100% sure,
Oh,
but
I
it
go on.
but I'm pretty sure we discussed it at some point. I think we did. So there's a non-zero chance, but don't hold me to that. But
You,
those are the
you,
ones. And at the end of the day, I'm going to see the movie regardless of who they cast,
yeah, same.
and I'm looking forward to it. And just you know, please, they put Uptown Funk. They paid the licensing fee for Uptown Funk. I'm sure you can afford whatever licensing fee Crush 40 asks of you.
Oh yeah,
Give me City Escape
absolutely.
or give me Live and Learn.
Oh my gosh.
Please.
So, before we continue onto that tangent, because I love to go onto that tangent. I would, I was thinking about it as you were talking. I'm like, who would Shadow? They're brooding. They don't normally have a whole lot to say. You know, they kind of have like that monotonish tone sometimes.
Hmm.
People are gonna get so mad at me for saying this, but Keanu Reeves.
That's just crazy enough to work.
Yeah. Now, really think about it. You're just
And
like,
especially for the community, because
yes.
the gaming community
No.
would lose its collective shit if
Exactly.
Keanu
Exactly.
Reeves, because like, well, what a
Exactly.
inspired meme of a casting Dooper.
Yep. Exactly. Think. You ever see the movie Constantine that Keanu Reeves was in?
I have not. No,
Uh,
I know
so
about it.
he plays. So in that movie, he plays as this literally shadow, literally brooding, been through a lot, dark tone, literally. If he just did that for Shadow, I think it would be pretty pretty good actually.
I'm thinking about this now, and just that the vocal range fits,
Yeah.
and just he's such a name brand, and especially in the gaming community, that the you're breathtaking plus Death Stranding, of just you want to talk about name recognition, a known commodity, and that I could see that fitting.
Oh my gosh, what
It,
if they
it
actually announce Keanu Reeves and you're just in my DMs and you're just like, shut up.
Emerald Lucia says the guy who voiced Kratos in God of War 4. Okay, I can see that. That just feels a bit too grizzled for Shadow,
Mm,
in my opinion.
yeah.
Scarlett Johansson.
But Crush 40, like if Sonic 3 opens up with Live and Learn, like if the movie's just black and you just hear that, I'm gonna like scream. I'm gonna lose my mind. That's it for me. I'm going
Well,
to
it
change
wouldn't
my
open
pants.
with
I'm
Live and
going to be
Learn. It would
pause
open
the
with City
movie.
Escape. It would open with City Escape.
Oh yeah. Ding, 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 ding. Oh yeah. Oh wait, that would make more sense. I mean, that's kind of like what they did with Sonic 2. They opened up
Yeah,
with Sonic in a scene where they were doing shit. So if they did that
escaping
again,
from the helicopter
yeah,
and ooh, Ron
Arnold
Perlman.
Schwarzenegger.
Ron
Ooh,
Perlman.
Ron Perlman would be
I
pretty
could get
good.
on board with that.
Yeah, think of the Lich from Adventure Time.
Yeah, I always associate Ron Perlman with Slade from Teen Titans. And
oh yeah, that's also really okay. Yeah, all right. Keanu Reeves or Ron Perlman, I think both those perfect.
I can get on board with that.
Yeah. If Sonic 3's climax is Sonic and Shadow uniting with Live and Learn in the background, I'm going to be sobbing in the theater.
And they've said that they aren't necessarily going to hold themselves to the established game storyline, as has been very clear from the first two. So I'm not expecting it to be just, Sonic Adventure 2 the movie.
I hope so.
That if we get Space Colony arc, I would be so happy. I would. It doesn't need to be the same thing, but if we have Space Colony arc in some capacity, that's everything I want more. But I'm not expecting it. My assumption is that we'll have Shadow, and that there will be some thread of Maria and Gerald Robotnik baked in, but probably no Space Colony arc. But if we get it, oh my gosh.
I know, it's crazy to think about. That door, and the thing is, we have to wait till everyone's all excited. They announced the date. I'm over here like, that's still two years from now. I don't even know where I'm gonna be 2 years from now. Oh my gosh. That part though in the second Sonic movie, when Sonic has their first encounter with Knuckles, because they were just like, Eggman, they're like, I'm gonna kick your ass, and then like they jump at them with their like spinning ability, their powers and stuff, and Knuckles just stops him and is like, oh.
It was intense.
Punches him into the ground. I'm just like, nut immediately. It was incredible. I was just screaming. Yeah, we were screaming the entire time. Oh my gosh, I love Knuckles, and I love how he's not very bright. It's perfect.
Yeah, that was the type of thing. They definitely made Knuckles dumber than he's written in the games, but the thing is that fits because the whole reason that in the original that Knuckles is an antagonist is because he's tricked by Eggman.
Yep, he's not that bright.
That's the whole thing. It's just not that bright, and that for any of the characters to be dumbed down, it makes sense that you do that with Knuckles, and that you have that, that character who takes a lot of things literally and is very stoic, but,
Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Heart of gold, head of bone, and just, it fit. That it wasn't necessarily what I would consider, game canon, but it worked.
Right. And like you said a little earlier, like the movie is its own thing, and people having issues with it, with like Robotnik and whatnot. And you really think about it, it was like, oh, my favorite part of the first Sonic game was when Sonic came through that portal and went to Green Hills and he met those humans. That's my favorite part of the Sonic game. Oh, but that's okay. But suddenly you have a problem with this character not being like the game. Go suck a fart. That's how I see it. Just enjoy the movie.
Knuckles is written like Starfire from Teen Titans. That you're not wrong there.
It's
that
true.
It's very similar. Of just that they come from a different culture, and that they take things very literally because they don't have the context to work with the different analogies or lingo or slang. So they just take things at face value.
It's great because sometimes the thing is with Sonic, I gotta say, in my own personal way with how Sonic is written, sometimes they're like one-liners just make me be like, You know, and like we're gonna get that in the next movie. You know, Sonic's
Of
gonna
course.
be like, "I'll have what she's having," you know, and you're supposed to laugh or whatever, and then you'll
It's
have Knuckles being like,
the quote unquote witty one-liners.
"Exactly," and then Knuckles is just like, "What's toilet paper?" And I'm gonna be like, screaming and laughing from that. I don't know.
As long as they write a little something for everybody, that's how you get a movie with wide appeal. That you have something that's, you know, simple and zippy for the kids, and then you have that veiled adult humor for the older crowd, and a couple pieces of nostalgia tucked away in there, and here you are. Who would your pick
Oh,
for Amy be? Huh?
I don't know if they bring Amy. I mean, they
Yeah.
could.
Uh, Margot Robbie is Amy. Okay,
I could see it.
I can see that. Yeah.
I never really like thought about that stuff.
I just don't think Amy is plot relevant enough. That she's always been sort of a gag character herself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, how would they write Amy for the movies? Yeah, because like, I don't know. They're like a big fan of Sonic. Well, I mean, like that's kind of like, well, they're Sonic's like big #1 fan, right? And they love Sonic. Well, they wrote Tails that way in the second movie.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know how they would do it, because then they would have to have the same development, and then you'd have to write that off as being lazy. I don't know how they would do it.
Yeah,
really
that'd be a
don't.
weird one.
Where's my Chow Garden? Where's my Chow Garden in the movie? Where's my 45 minutes of giving Chaos Drives to Chows?
No. That's the spin-off series for Paramount Plus.
Oh, right. Oh, oops, all Chow Garden. 8 seasons, 10 out of 10.
Let's go.
Yeah, I would put all my money right in there, Paramount. Let's go.
We don't need the Knuckles spin-off series. That I'm sure it'll be fine, but I would cancel the Knuckles spin-off series in a heartbeat if it meant that we would get a Chow spin-off series.
With I feel like that would go good with Cream's character, right?
Yeah, because
they were, yeah,
because it was cream and cheese.
Yeah, that'd be really good. That'd be perfect. Speaking of Sonic, though, looking at the shelf of games, have you ever touched Billy Hatcher?
Yes, Dooper. And I love you for bringing up Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg, because you want to talk about things that I spoke with Johnny Jellyjaw about. I made a
were you
point.
talking about Billy Hatcher?
I made a point to bring up Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg because I love that game. That it is one of my two, like, diamond in the rough games that I think are severely underrated. And it's probably what I would call the single most underrated game on the GameCube, and the single franchise that I am so sad never got a sequel, because it was developed by Sonic Team, and it was just such a delightful platformer. The music was amazing. It was different. It was fun. It had its own rough patches of, it had a couple glitches here and there. It wasn't quite as rough around the edges as Sonic 2, because this was a couple years into the GameCube's life cycle. But yes, I have played Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg, and I love it.
Good. I for the longest time, I only had the GameCube demo disc that had Beautiful Joe and Billy Hatcher on it, and it was only like the first demo stage of the Billy Hatcher game, and I played that over and over and over a lot when I was younger. It wasn't until years later where I actually was able to pick up the game, and that game is so much fun. It is so unique. It is so full of life, but it is also incredibly frustrating sometimes when you drop the egg after like trying to get it across the stage for 20 minutes and you have to start all over.
And just that dreaded.
Yep. Oh no. It is such a fun game though. I definitely want to stream it sometime for sure.
Absolutely. I've only seen a handful of people stream, but anytime I get wind of somebody playing Billy Hatcher, it is appointment viewing for me.
I'll remember that. I will remember that.
I do see Shadow the Hedgehog on that shelf. You do have a good standard of Mario Sunshine, the original Animal Crossing, a gem to be sure. That I have played every entry in the Animal Crossing series, and just goodness knows New Horizons came out at the right place at the right time when the world needed it most.
Yep.
I really like the game. There are certain pieces I wish were better about the game. You talk about dialogue options. I think that most of the Animal Crossing community is pretty united that the the weak point of New Horizons is the
That.
severely limited number of dialogue lines for
Hmm.
villagers compared
Yeah.
to other entries that just seem to go on for days.
Yep. Yeah, that was definitely one of the with New Horizons, their falling point was that and the I don't know. Have you ever played Pocket Camp on your phone?
No, I have not.
So the thing about Animal Crossing Pocket Camp is it has all of the previous entry furniture sets and more, right?
Mhm.
And that was a huge, huge drop off for me in New Horizons. Granted, yes, I sunk in like 800 plus hours in New Horizons. Don't get me wrong, I love that game. But where's my modern set?
Yeah, that where's the modern set? That there's a lot of
I
the old holiday ones, like the harvest
hmm
set.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted felt yeah, so Pocket Camp is it's basically a gotcha game.
Mhm.
I would recommend not really playing it, but my argument is they put so much attention to detail into Pocket Camp. I wish they did the same for New Horizons, you know?
Yeah, it's clear that for New Horizons, the development time was put into the terraforming and island customization, and I can appreciate that was obviously the biggest iteration for this game. The fact that you
Yeah.
could finally actually decorate outside and really truly make your island your own. That it was such a huge night and day difference, but it feels like other parts of the game were sacrificed for it.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there 100%. And I was part of that um I I actually revealed to some people the other day that I was the one who ran the Froggy Chair Twitter. Um
That was you, Dooper?
Everybody says that was you. It was me. Yes, I ran the Froggy Chair Twitter. It was me.
Incredible.
No fucking God, I swear, everyone that is probably like what's gonna be on my gravestone. I ran the Froggy Chair Twitter. Yes,
Literal
I
claim to
ran the Froggy.
fame.
Do I have any proof? Fuck. I think if I go through my old hard
You could
drive, I
just
can
do
find
the
some screenshots.
login.
The thing is, it actually got shut down because of copyright infringement. I posted a video of Froggy
Oh,
Chair dancing to a KK Slider remix mixed up with with Childish Gambino, and I guess it got flagged or something.
oh
Or
my
some other
gosh.
shit.
I was saying Nintendo got you on Twitter that I know Nintendo will get folks usually on
Yeah.
YouTube for stuff like that, but the fact that it wasn't even Nintendo at the end of the
No,
day.
it was just Twitter. And
Ugh.
see, even Dreamy Boo, I wonder why they followed me out of nowhere. It was me. It was me. I didn't tell a lot of people that I ran it though. That was me. Anyways, where was I? I was saying so. Oh yeah. So one of my biggest gripes was when you play. All right, first off, I love New Leaf. New Leaf is the best. I adore that game. I cannot get enough of New Leaf. And in New Horizons, it took them a year for them to add Brewster.
Mhm.
And I loved
Mhm.
Brewster because you can go in there and there'd be like a random NPC, you know, and they're just like they have this like off work dialogue and it like
Yep,
really
yeah,
gave them
you
life.
talk about, as we've been saying all night, getting that the
Yeah,
NPC extra bits of dialogue and character development. That's really what you got with Brewster. That it
exactly.
was that special place that it meant that you were going to get some different side of them.
Exactly. I loved it. It was so good. And I it's so hard to kind of go back to New Leaf after you play New Horizons for so much or for so long because they improved the game in a lot of really
Yeah,
good ways.
like so much
But
quality of life.
yeah, but a lot of quality of life, but a lot less life, if that makes sense.
Oh no,
I
I think that like that might be the best single sentence summary of the game that I have heard of better quality of life but less life.
Hey, hire me, Game Facts. Let's do it. uh, like if I could make any suggestions to improve that game, take that stuff from New Leaf, throw that baby in there. A lot of random events, again, which I adored, and I think New Horizons it needs something to where, okay, you've paid off your house, you know, very very cool. Would you like to buy a shed? And the shed would just be a one-room building that you can expand and stuff. You can choose where you want it to be on your island, and you can customize it however the way you want, right? It's like another house, but it's just one floor, one room. So you could turn it into your own supermarket. You could turn it into an arcade, a movie theater, or something. And NPCs can actually interact and walk into it because it's not your house. Because remember, they like, hey, I
Mm,
want to come over to your house and stuff.
yeah,
And you got to do this whole
that
process
it,
for them to come over.
a
Like,
customizable public building.
exactly. And you can go in there and you like three of your NPCs are just like in there sitting on like the movie
Hang-
theater seats, and you have like a big
Hanging
old fake
around.
screen that you made with QR codes, of like that one scene in the Joker movie where he's dancing, like you can do so much fun stuff with it and it would give the game so much more life. Like I wish they did something like that in the game. That would have
Yeah.
been really cool. But something else that I really kind of got really disappointed about was I loved that it had multiplayer. I loved that. I loved how many people can come over to your island. I hated the lack of things you could do when you had people on your island. It's like fishing.
You had to make your own fun. That
Yeah.
People would do things like musical chairs, or that they would set up scavenger hunts and hide and seek.
Yeah.
But it was, you had to really lean on your own creativity to
Yep.
find things to do other than come over to my island so I can showcase it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like come around, look around, like talk to NPCs, check out the shops and stuff, and then fish, maybe.
Yeah.
But like when you have people come over, you're halted in whatever it was you're doing. You can't place objects. You can't move objects. You can't alter the island in any way. So any of that stuff, you can't work on your island. You can't do any of that stuff. I get it, to not trap the person, but everybody has that feature on their phone, to kind of like teleport to the
Yeah.
main entrance, which is the Mr. Rossetti reference.
Yeah, I was gonna say, talk about world building. I appreciate that
Yeah.
they gave Rossetti something to do.
Yeah, I get that. I just wish there's just some things that I wish could have changed in the game, but I did sink so many hours into that game. It did. You were right though. It came out at the perfect time.
And it was a complete accident because it was supposed to come out on October 19th, and they delayed it. They were, talked about game delays earlier. Just, we want to make sure it's good. We want to make sure it's polished, and they only delayed it once. So it was all right, whatever, that's fine. And they kept to their second release date, and it just so happened that it was in late March of 2020. And there are articles of all the things that people did in that game when they could not be around each other physically, and just I hold it up as that my friends and I, like when it came to the end of 2020, we were like, what's the game of the year? And we came to the determination that there were 3 games of the year. And the games of the year: Animal Crossing New Horizons, Among Us, and Fall Guys. Not because
Yeah.
they were the best games of the year, but because they were the games of the year.
Yeah.
The
No,
games
you're right.
that people played, the games that brought people together during a shit time. And obviously, the shit time was not contained exclusively to 2020, but just those games were there when we needed them.
Right. For me, what my game of the year for 2020 was? This is coming from somebody who is crazy about Nintendo, is all over the new Nintendo games, and this is gonna sound completely off coming from me, but in my opinion, 2020 game of the year was Half-Life Alyx. I could not believe that game. If you've never played that game, I cannot recommend a VR game enough than that game.
I've seen it played. I have not played it myself.
It is incredible. It is remarkable. At the end, I streamed my entire playthrough of that game, and by the end of it, I was on my knees crying.
Oh, wow.
It was so good, and it was so powerful, and it is a perfect example on how a VR game should be made. It didn't even feel like I was in VR. It was so fluid most of the time. But that and New Horizons, to be honest, I actually ended up getting very bored of Among Us after I don't know, a couple of days of playing it.
That's fair.
Maybe it's because I was always playing with the same people, but then like Fall Guys was fun for a while, and then I dropped off of it, and now it's like I'm really into it now all of a sudden, and I think it's because
Yeah,
of
it's definitely had a resurgence.
and that's good. It's good.
And
Fall
actually, yeah,
Guys has a lot more to offer than Among Us, which is weird. Why Among Us did so much better.
and bring things full circle, they actually just announced today that they're adding Sonic the Hedgehog outfits.
Yep. And I'm getting Robotnik. I'm gonna get that day one. I don't care. No one's gonna stop me.
Now, I said there were two GameCube games that I hold up as hidden gems, ones that I'm really disappointed didn't get more traction or sequels. Billy Hatcher is top of the list because there has never been another Billy Hatcher game. The other game that is Diamond in the Rough for me, there have been other games of the franchise, but never of this
I know what
type.
you're gonna say. I know what you're gonna say.
Kirby Air
Yeah.
Ride.
Oh, Kirby Air Ride. Oh my god, that is one of the games that I don't own.
I would pay $60 just to get on Switch City Trial. Just direct port.
Yeah.
I don't need anything new. The amount of time that my friends and I spent playing City Trial, just
It was
it was so much fun.
Kirby Air Ride was the first game that I got. Second game ever that I got on day one release, and I got it because the time it released fell like with a time where I was getting a gift or something, and like that's what I wanted. I don't know, but I got it day one, and I played it so much, just like with Adventure Sonic Adventure 2. I played it so much to where the game just stopped working because I played it so much with my friends. And with my friends, I mean my brother. I didn't have any friends, and it was so much fun. And
and it's just
I need to repurchase it.
And it really is just City Trial because the top down mini races were okay. It wasn't great. The single player actual racing part was fine. It was nothing inspired. But City Trial, what a multiplayer mode!
Oh yeah.
The fact that that's one. I'm not surprised that Billy Hatcher never got a sequel because its sales were just not very good.
Yeah.
And that Sonic as a mascot, as a franchise, was always going to be more profitable than Billy Hatcher. So it's not shocking that Sonic Team said we would rather make more Sonic games than Billy Hatcher games.
Right. But that's the risk with a new IP. Yeah.
But Kirby has continued on. They've done various Kirby spin-off games over the years since, and I am a little bit surprised that they have never revisited Air Ride in any capacity.
I don't know too much about the reception of Air Ride on release or how Nintendo felt about it, but I don't know. Maybe it wasn't up to their standards, and that's probably why they haven't revisited it.
I believe that, and especially, I suppose, it was always going to be held against Mario Kart, which at that point meant it was going up against Double Dash, which is many people hold up Double Dash as one of the best entries in that series. And I think that you played Mario Kart and Kirby Air Ride those are two very different games, but they're still close enough that they're going to be compared. So you could be onto something there of just that, it might not have been up to their standards, and that there may have been just, right, well, we're already working on this other racing game, this other racing franchise that's just more successful and more established.
Yeah, and the unfortunate reality is if you put Kirby up against Mario, right, and like looking at it as like the IP, the brand and stuff, Mario's gonna win. As much as you don't want it to, Mario's going to win. So a racing game for Kirby and Mario around roughly the same time on the same console, and on top of it, Double Dash introduced the whole 2 to a cart, which was huge for people at the time because parents saw it as, hey, my kids will play together.
Yes. Yeah.
That was a huge thing. And
it was a big deal.
Exactly. So I don't know. It might, to them, it might have been, Air Ride might have been seen as not that good of a success for them to revisit. But who knows? We'll see what happens down the road. We just got a remaster for a game that I never thought we would ever see announced from Nintendo earlier this year, Live Alive.
Yeah, it actually just released, and that was not one that I've ever played, but everyone who I have seen that has played it has said that it is an amazing remake, and that that fan base seems very satisfied.
Yeah, I highly recommend playing through that game because that game is I was always so critical about the kind of games that we would probably see a remake of, you know, like how we're talking right now with like Air Ride stuff. Like we probably won't get another Air Ride because, you know, maybe it wasn't a commercial as big a commercial success as they wanted, right? And then Nintendo surprises me by doing a complete remaster of Live Alive that never even came to the West. A
Yeah,
complete remaster and
they
shot in
did.
the dark.
What was it? It was Famicom Detective Agency, and
Yeah,
that
that
visual
too.
novel, that's sort of a curveball, and I assume that the amount of time and resources that it takes to remake a visual novel game like that is not going to be the same as something like a
Right.
racing game. So perhaps that's apples and oranges, but
Yeah. No,
Nintendo
no,
has
I
certainly
agree.
thrown some curveballs over the years.
Right. I think it has something to do with the people, the producers behind it too. Maybe
I
maybe
I could see that.
they find joy like in this game. Like they genuinely love it this game. They're not looking at it as I'm gonna make money. They're looking at it as let's bring this game back because it deserves to come back, you know?
Yeah,
And I
and they're
really hope there are
usually
people in the industry like that.
yeah, and they're usually smaller games, or at least less development intensive games, because Live Alive, it's a sprawling RPG, but it's still sprites and pixels. It's not a whole bunch of complex 3D rendering and art. So just in terms of resources there, that it was probably a cheaper, easier game to make than something like a 3D racer.
Right. Come on, Reggie, give us Mother 3. You'll never get Mother 3.
Nope, it's not going to happen.
It's not happening. Play the fan translation. It's perfect. It's amazing.
I'm convinced that there is a rights issue with Mother 3. That that something about the IP is
Mm.
tied up legally, probably with the initial creator, who for
Hmm.
whatever reason is not able to come to terms with Nintendo, and that's why we're not getting it. That it's not because they don't want to make it, but it's
Mm.
because especially way back in those days, that's when IP rights were more likely, or even possible, to be retained by the original developer.
Right.
And whereas nowadays, it's very standard that anything made while under the employ of company belongs to company, and so they don't need to worry about that. But I think that that one's just old enough that for how much demand there is, and
Yeah.
that it's basically going to be, in terms of visual fidelity, it's going to be the level of Live Alive. That's exactly the what Mother 3 would be in terms of graphics.
Right.
So, by process of elimination, what could the holdup be legal?
I'm like watching chat right now to see Blanc pop in. So I'm not a super specialist with the behind the scenes stuff with Mother 3. I have played through and beaten the game. I know a little bit. I have a lot of big Mother friends, like big Mother fan,
Yeah, and
big Mother fans,
yeah,
and
I'll admit,
Blanc.
I've never actually played the game myself. That I make this speculation just sort
Oh,
of
okay.
as an
So
outsider, realizing that I feel like there is more than enough demand for Nintendo to be aware that people want it, and especially
so
seeing Live Alive, which is comparable. What would the holdup here be? And like I said, that's my speculation.
you're right, saying I am a big fan of your mother. So the thing is with Mother 3, there are some things that don't translate very well, and the things they don't they're not things that can be ignored. It's so deeply ingrained in the story that for them to translate it to English would be incredibly offensive. There's a lot,
Okay.
there is a lot of references to drag as well as the transgender community. There's a like it is so ingrained into the story. It's so deep that they can't just
Mm,
change it. They can't just censor it. It would
yeah,
it would
it
not make sense. So what I think it
okay.
is that that's more of what it is because I believe, and I think this is one of my friends who works at Mother Forever. When I spoke to them about it, they said that Itoi said that they want it to come to the West. They really want it to come to the West. Like they never say why, but that's the theory,
Okay, yeah,
and
no,
it
so
makes a lot of sense.
eh,
If you
yeah,
played through Mother 3, you would know exactly what I'm talking about, and I'm trying to like
yeah.
refrain because
Yeah, and
if you
like I said, I
haven't,
haven't. So
play it.
that context is actually extremely useful. That I'm
Mhm.
glad you bring that up. That makes perfect sense. That if there is this content, these characters, these storylines that just have not aged well and that
Yeah.
are too deeply ingrained in the story to be censored or altered, that I I can absolutely believe that this is something that Nintendo looks at and says, we understand that we will hit controversy one way or another. That if we
Yeah.
don't change it, we're gonna hit controversy. If we change it, we're gonna hit controversy, and it's a lose-lose situation.
Right.
And we
Yeah.
don't want to put ourselves in a lose-lose situation.
Exactly. Yeah. It's there's a lot of that in there. But
That's
now
unfortunate.
you have homework, so play
Yep.
Mother 3 if you ever find the free time to do so.
Maybe I say that's the constant struggle. That we live. It is a wonderful time to be a nerd. That just I'm a big anime fan, so I watch a lot of anime every season. I'm
Mhm.
just working in games has severely reduced the amount of games that I play off the clock because it's just that thing of
Mm.
I'm more likely to do something that is not like my day job, and that's not to say I don't like games anymore, but there has been a noticeable decrease. That it's just how it is. But
Yeah.
it also, even if you wanted to play games all the time, that we have an embarrassment of riches situation where there are so many good games available
Yep.
that
So overwhelming.
everybody has their list of games they know they need to play, the games they want to play, the classics that they missed. And for every game that you strike off that list, 5 more are added to it.
Yep. I've purchased so many games that I have never even touched. And it just becomes overwhelming. And then a new game comes out and I want to play that. It's like, no, I can't play that until I beat this other game. And then I'm like stopping myself. And then I end up just sitting on the couch rewatching a show that I've already watched.
The constant struggle. Dreamy Boo brings up Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. Yes, that's a really good one.
Yeah. Fun fact, I have never touched a single Mystery Dungeon game. Not that I don't want to.
I've never touched anything that wasn't a Pokemon Mystery Dungeon game, and so I don't think that's too absurd.
I played through Pokemon Blue and Red, Gold and Silver, and then I dropped off Pokemon for a very long time. Not that I didn't want to play it, it's just I don't remember. It was just a time in my life where I was doing other things, and when I finally came back to Pokemon, it was during X and Y. So, and I've been playing Pokemon ever since X and Y.
Okay, yeah.
So,
Well, there you go. And X and Y was a good time to come back. That I thought that one was really good.
yeah, people shit on it, but I liked it a lot, actually. Eat
I
your
thought
heart
it was
out.
fine. Well, so we wound up just spending a good chunk of time on GameCube, and not that I mind. That, like I said, GameCube's very formative one for me.
Mm.
But hopping over to PS1, are there any here that you want to particularly shout out?
Let's see here. Yes, I would like to shout out the Legend of Dragoon.
Ooh, okay, yeah. Now that's so. I did not own a PS1. I did own a PS2, so I'll be able to talk a little bit about those when we get there. But basically, there's nothing here that I played. But Legend of Dragoon is definitely a name that I've heard many times over the years.
Yes, Legend of Dragoon. It is a low poly turn-based RPG game. So, I mean, if you're familiar with what Final Fantasy VII is,
Yeah,
imagine that.
it's in that vein.
Yeah, but imagine that, but better. Legend of Dragoon is it's such a ride. It is an amazing story. It's visually impressive. The music is just the pause menu itself is such a banger theme, and not enough people talk about Legend of Dragoon. It's got one of those very powerful stories, plenty of secrets to keep you busy. It has the whole coming back and interacting with NPC thing that I mentioned earlier, where the NPCs are affected by what's going on in the world, and you can go back and talk to them and their dialogue changes. And there's a lot of NPCs, a lot of stuff. You're not the first to do that. wait, I'm gonna get mistaken Legend for Pansy. Oh yeah. But Legend of Dragoon though, it is such a beautiful game. that is definitely one that I would probably want to shout out for everybody. I don't want to like get into spoilers because if one person has not played that game, I won't talk about it because they need to. It is great. Um, Croc, Croc, I would definitely suggest shout out Croc. Croc was that Croc is Spyro and Banjo Kazooie merged together. Like the look of Spyro, but you're playing as an alligator with a backpack with the worst controls you've ever imagined. Straight up tank controls, and it's awful. But the game itself is so much fun that you can get past the controls. um, Somebody, and I didn't even know about this until years after they released it, did a HD PC port of Croc. You can play it on 4K widescreen. They changed the controls to work with analog, upscaled everything, and it looks beautiful. And it came out free for everybody, and it came out years ago, and nobody knew about it.
Oh, that's just sad.
Yeah, someone put so much work into it, and it is beautiful. Definitely suggest that. Also, you may notice that I have 2 copies of Legend of Dragoon.
Okay, so I wasn't sure. I was like, is this a case where it's, a 2-disc game and they just sort of printed it twice on there? No, that is just 2 separate copies.
You can find a copy of Legend of Dragoon on eBay. Actually.
Yeah, I assume that most of these had wide enough print runs that you're going to be able to find them on eBay, probably at a reasonable price. At relatively few exceptions, most of these games, fortunately, are going to be relatively easy to find. There's a couple that, for one reason or another, didn't have big print runs, but at least at this point in time, unless it's a never removed from box situation, that I feel like most games in these generations can be found at relatively reasonable prices.
Yeah. Another game that I would shout out that I mentioned earlier was Mega Man Legends. You may notice kind of on the right underneath the Mega Man Anniversary Collection, there's Mega Man Legends 1, 2, and the Misadventures of Tron Bonne. And then on the bottom of the stack, right above Mega Man, is that 8? Yeah, right above Mega Man 8, that is Rockman Dash. That is Mega Man Legends that released in Japan. I have the Japanese disc as well because I don't know why not. Something's wrong with me.
See Croc 2 in there.
Yeah, Croc 2. I got both those at the same time for like $5 at a yard sale. I was very happy about that. American McGee's Alice, Tonic Trouble. I found that at Goodwill for $2, factory sealed.
Well, wait a minute. No, there are 2 instances of Legend of Dragoon.
Yeah.
One of them is just upside down, but they are double disc.
Yep.
Okay, I didn't even I just saw the one that was right side up, so I thought, okay, that's 2 copies there. I didn't actually realize until I took a closer look that the one that's upside down is actually the second copy, that it is 2 discs. So you have the 4 lines of Legend of Dragoon there.
Yep. Also, I mean, all those games are really good, but Final Fantasy 7 is not there. It's not stacked in there. I don't know where that is.
I see 8 in there.
But yeah, 8's right there. I love Final Fantasy 8. I like it. 8 is just really good. I really enjoy that one. And then Parasite Eve is just really messed up. That is a creepy game.
Another one of those that I've heard that name many times, but am not familiar with at all.
It's Square Enix's answer to what Resident Evil was. And it is more on the creepier side. I would really suggest it if you like horror.
I'm not a fan of horror, but I like watching people play horror games. I don't like playing them as much myself.
Mm-hmm. And then, yeah, I mean, like that's all I really shout out. All the others are kind of like Bug's Life and
WrestleMania,
Pac-Man.
the arcade game.
Yeah, I got it in the original like long case. I don't even remember how I found that. I don't know. It's been a while. And then to the right of that is leading into my cringy PS2 RPG games, Arts and Ellico.
And speaking of PS2, that we have
Oh,
actually
here we
a
go.
big list here.
There we go.
Yeah,
That's
plus a
the
couple
big
of
one.
fun little collectibles scattered around it.
Oh yes.
That for me, this generation very much was defined by GameCube. That I had a PS2, which I picked up later in the generation, partially because it was one of the cheaper DVD players on the market at the time, anyways.
Yeah.
But there were also a couple games that, there was Star Wars Battlefield 2, which, the first Star Wars Battlefield 2, not Battlefield 2 that we had, 3-4 years ago. For whatever reason, PlayStation had a couple of exclusive Yu-Gi-Oh games. That Yu-Gi-Oh, as a franchise, has hopped around to, or at least back in the day, hopped around to a lot of different consoles. That they had a couple on GameCube, they had a couple on PS2, they had a couple on PS1, and that they were all very different, and they had different battle systems and mechanics, and none of them seemed to actually relate to each other. That you get the feeling that, I'm not sure if you were into Yu-Gi-Oh at all, but basically there was just this 4-year span at the early days of Yu-Gi-Oh where, for whatever reason, it felt like they just sort of licensed out the IP and let people slap it onto whatever battle strategy game they wanted to make.
They probably did that, and I know a lot of people that played those games.
And a lot of them were really good. It was just sort of odd to see this game that had established mechanics just so regularly diverge from them, and for them to diverge so wildly from game to game. It wasn't even, okay, this is how Yu-Gi-Oh games are, and that they are this consistent type of different, but that they were all different from each other.
Yeah.
Zooming in a little bit. Any favorites on here?
I'm looking through them right now, even though they're literally to the right of me right now. If I would definitely say, I'm a huge .hack fan. If you haven't, noticed.
I was about to say, I noticed all, 5 entries of .hack in here? 4.
So there are the infection series, which is the 4 that are over to the right. I don't know why my GU discs are all out of order. I don't remember what I was doing. And then I got, so it's the .hack, infection, mutation, outbreak, and quarantine, which are to the right. And then there's .hack GU 1, 2, and 3. They did do a .hack GU part 4, which came out way later. Actually, that came out like 2-3 years ago. And it was more like a DLC than a game by itself, but they did an HD version of GU, and you were able to get it with it. We're still hoping for a HD version of .hack infection, but oh my gosh, that gameplay has not aged very well at all. But I would definitely shout that one out, because finding the entire set for infection, all 4 of those games, is so hard right now. And especially with the retro game boom that's going on. I don't know if you know about that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That the collector's market has certainly spiked over the past couple of years, and it's mostly revolving around like classic NES, SNES games, some more iconic ones. But then there are these oddities on some of the old newer ones like PS2 and GameCube, that for whatever reason have become collectible and therefore very coveted, and I'm not surprised to hear that .hack would be among them.
Yep. .hack, they get more and more expensive as they go later on, and GU, same thing. Like the first one's not that bad, but then when you get to the third one, it's I think last I checked it was well over $100 for that one. Yeah, they're a pretty penny. For 1 year for Christmas, I had all of the .hack. I had infection, mutation, and outbreak, but I didn't own quarantine. For my birthday, Bloops bought me quarantine. She had to purchase at the retro store that's out here. She had to purchase the entire infection series just to get it, because they wouldn't sell the individual
bundle.
Yeah, but it also wasn't that expensive at the time. It was like $120 for the full set.
Okay, that's not terrible.
She got it for me. I got the mutation out of it, and we sold the extras, which is fine. But like, looking at it now, it is not just $120 anymore. Not at all. Not by a long shot.
And
Um,
one franchise I want to call out here because there's 4 titles from it. You're a DDR fan.
yes, I am.
So what level of DDR player are you? Because I myself am a very middling player. That I would say that I'm probably anywhere from just below average to average. You know, I can do, you know, the most of the medium ones very
Mhm.
reliably, and you know, like maybe half the songs on hard. I can't do expert or you know any of the crazy difficulties, but I'm base level competent at
Yeah.
it. But I know some folks are, you know, that they will go to arcades and that they will lean back on that sport bar and just go to town. I know others that are just able to get their full body into it and that they are actually dancing as they are going through the arrows with their feet. What type of DDR player are you?
Well, I mean, you just described me, so I can't help but think that's funny. I am an expert challenge DDR player, dual pad on some of them. I hold onto the rail. I'm that person.
Hey, no, don't get me wrong. I respect the
Yeah.
hell out of those people because it means that you've put in the time and like that is a skill at that point, being able to follow those arrows and to have that coordination. And I think it's really cool when people are able to actually just get into it in the point that they're really feeling the music and are able to just get into it. That those are the
Mhm.
type of people that, you know, when you go to arcades that you know, you just hang around like to watch them because they are so good at it.
Yeah. Uh, with DDR, so the first one was I went to my cousin's house and they were playing DDR Max. That was the first one that I ever seen or played or anything. And I loved some of the music. I got into it. I started playing it with them. Eventually, I got my own copy. I got my own dance pad. I got it at home. The thing was awful. I kept slipping, sliding. I got a better one, and I didn't have a whole lot. Okay, this is not a sob story or anything, so please don't think so. But I didn't have a whole lot of friends, okay? And I just played Dance Dance Revolution or whatever other games that I had, and that was also like how I listened to music. So I was like, I want to listen to Drop the Bomb, so I'm gonna play Drop the Bomb in DDR. And if I didn't want to use my dance pad, I'd use my controller. So I was good with both. Um, Over time, I would start going to the arcades and playing there. And yeah, I ended up becoming that person who would hold onto the rails. I ended up becoming one of those people that would do freestyling also on the dance pad. And if you don't know what that is, that's when you're doing like literal tricks on the dance pad to the song and like hitting the
Mhm.
arrows on cue. I was,
Yeah.
oh my God, I was weird. Still am, anyways. um, in DDRX, this is actually something that's really cool, and it's related to another game on this shelf. You're gonna get a cool little story, okay? So in Dance Dance Revolution Extreme 2, I think it's Extreme 2 or Extreme 1. I think it's Extreme 2. There's a game on there, or there's a song on there called Polavision and Dances. I definitely butchered that. That's not how it's pronounced. Um, but if you play that song in the background, it shows a cinematic of what looks like a game, but nobody knew what it was. You know, it was just one of those things. It was just, it
Was
didn't say what
this
it was.
was this a cinematic of a game that had not been released yet?
It was a cinematic for a game at the time, wasn't released. It was made by Konami, but it never came to the West.
Oh,
um
okay.
so ended up finding out eventually, yeah, dances and choruses, yeah, that song. Eventually found out that that game is actually called Oz in Japan, OZ,
Mm,
and it is a twisted play off of Wizard of
Wizard
Oz,
of Oz,
and
I
it
guess, yeah.
is a hack and slash game, but it's like a weird twist. Like,
Huh.
you're trying to find your sister, your little sister. Her name's Dorothy. You have this demon with you, and their name is the dog from Wizard of Oz. I forget.
Toto.
Toto, yeah. Little things like that, and you have like this character who turns into like in this like creepy demon-like lion who's on your team and stuff. And it looks crazy anime-fied. It looks like it would be made by the guys who make Devil May Cry. Um, it looked so cool and it was beautiful and the song was amazing. And I remember watching that. I played that song over and over again and I loved it. I could never find out what that game was. Found out eventually it was called Oz in Japan. It was released in Europe as Sword of Etheria, and we never got it in America. So if you look at my games in between Dot Hack Mutation and Disgaea 2, you'll see the Sword of Etheria, and that is the European release of the game. Unfortunately, my PS2 is not modded, so I can't play it.
Doesn't
So to
play
this
it.
day, I still have yet to play it.
Oh, yep, there it is. Sword of Etheria. Oh, interesting. It's the single one there that has the PlayStation logo with a black background as opposed to a white background. I'm guessing that's because it was a European release that they, for whatever reason, probably had a different logo or printing that they did in Europe, and that's why it's the oddity.
Yeah, that I mean, I never really thought of it like that, but yeah, that's probably it. And term as rhythm, and when rhythm games go, as Dreamy Boo asked if I'm into any other ones, Donkey Konga.
I was this oh Dooper, I love you, man. Just I was going to spin off and say, going, off rhythm games, and we'd just been talking about a bunch of gems on the GameCube. I was gonna say, did you ever play Donkey Konga? And
I did. Yes, I did.
that was, I wish Donkey Konga had a slightly bigger song list, because a lot of the songs they had on there were really good. They had some fun ones. They had some oddities on there that, they had the Kirby Right Back At Ya theme, which was fun. But the song that I played over and over and over, because I hadn't heard it before, and I would later, only a few years later, realize that I really enjoyed ska. They had the impression that I get by the mighty, mighty boss tones on Donkey Konga, and I played that song over and over and over.
Yeah, that was one that I played all the time. Oh my gosh, what a throwback. I need to boot that up. I have the bongos. Funny story, I went to that retro game store I frequent. I went in asking for the bongos, and the guy was like, you really want the bong? I have a lot of those. They're $10. You can have one. I'm like,
yeah,
all right,
that
cool.
was just since they weren't used for anything, but it was a high print game that just for whatever reason that it has become one of those relatively plentiful accessories. It's going to be interesting to see when the market starts to run dry of them, because once it is, it's certainly an accessory that has never been remade.
Yeah,
so
be a demand
that feels like a investment item that if you want to make the savvy financial market play, invest in Donkey Kong bongos for 10 years, because my guess is they're $10 now, and that eventually it's going to be like the Super Scope or something, that it's going to be a highly sought after accessory, because it is such an oddity, and it's really required to play this, 3 games, because there was Donkey Konga 1, 2, and then Jungle Beat.
Yep.
Never played Jungle Beat. Heard it was okay. But
oh, it's fun. It's fun. It's actually that was the first one I played. I played through was Jungle Beat.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, this is great. And then I thought Konga was Jungle Beat, but when I started playing, I was like, oh, it's like DDR. Okay, and I'm in love. And I played it. Did you ever play Mario Mix on the GameCube?
Yes, I did. That was actually, so I had played DDR at friends' houses. My cousin had it, but I never owned a copy of my own before Mario Mix. And basically, first off, to the game's credit, the mixes were all original. It wasn't just that they ripped Mario music from the games and put arrows onto them, which is what I thought I was getting when I bought the game. But that, all of the arrangements were entirely new. So props to them to at least putting in the effort. The difficulty level in Mario Mix is significantly lower compared to your average DDR game. That what is, I would say that the hard difficulty on Mario Mix is the equivalent of the more difficult lights and mediums in a traditional DDR game.
Right. Yeah. I went to I want to say 7 years ago. Yeah, about that long ago. I went to a garage sale, and wouldn't you know it, they had Mario Mix with the original dance pad, and the
The
dance
mat?
pad
Yeah.
was still in its shrink wrap.
Whoa. Okay.
So I have it. I've just been like thinking about like would Twitch get really upset with me about these songs? So I need to like research and find out if I'd get flagged for them. But
I
if not, then I'm
I
definitely gonna
feel
try and
like
do it.
Twitch can't flag game songs
Oh, they've
because
done it.
well, the,
Yeah.
I've seen them flag songs when it is a song that that existed before the game, that is not a game original. So if something was licensed like in GTA, that's when you run into stuff because it was initially published under a record label.
Yeah.
And so if it's then detected, that's when you get those issues. But that nothing that is game original music, at least to my knowledge, I've never seen get flagged. And I can't imagine that for Mario Mix of all things, you would get hit, especially because, you know, that's not something that's going to be under a record label's big,
Yeah.
the database that's being scanned for with the auto mod and everything. So I would think you're safe there.
I'll look into it more, but if I feel like I can get away with it, then I'm absolutely going to stream it. Oh my gosh. And what Dreamy Boo said earlier about Taiko, Bloops, my wife, was the one who played Taiko. I didn't even know what it was until much later, but we got it on the Switch. The little drum and the little. You ever play that?
Yeah. That's one of the ones that you see a lot in arcades. That it's the big, as the name suggests, Taiko drums.
I'm on the DDR machine. Well, I don't see DDR machines as much anymore. I see Pump Fiesta machines nowadays. And those are 5 buttons instead of 4. So that took a little while.
They have the center one.
Yeah, I eventually learned how to play it.
And then I forget which one it is that is DDR, but it's the diagonal ones.
Oh,
Instead of the up, down, left, right, that it's the the diagonal directions, which is a little bit strange.
No, not Stepmania. It starts with fuck. They had USB ports on them. I know what ones you're talking. I know what one you're talking about. I had it as you were talking about it, I knew exactly what it was, but then when I went to go speak, it's gone. No, it was the other arcade cabinet that you'd find in arcades. But the arrows were diagonal. Pump Fiesta does that, but there was another one. I was trying to remember what it was. In the groove. In the groove.
That.
In the groove. I don't know.
I know there's a game called In the Groove.
I
can't remember if that was.
Is it In the Groove?
Please stand
Oh
by.
yeah, that's fine. Internet wants to be super slow for some reason. Whatever. I'll find out later. Anyways. Looking at these PS2 games, another one that I would really suggest, also kind of sticks out for me is Tulip. I don't know if you know anything about Tulip.
I'm trying to remember why I've heard that name before.
Game Grumps played it a long time ago. If you ever watched Game Grumps, but
I knew of Game Grumps. I didn't really follow their content much, so it probably wasn't there, but
yeah,
it may have just been recommended to me by another friend.
Tulip is Animal Crossing. Yep, it's Animal Crossing with smooching. So the whole point of the game is to kiss people.
Huh.
But it's wacky. It is so funny and fun. I can't even like it's just ridiculous. I don't even know how to really describe it, because the game itself is you move into this town with your father, or was it grandfather or something, and you are judged by how many people you have kissed. And then there's like a guy in a telephone pole who like runs into a bridge and like yells at you, or like it's so off the wall. It is so unique and wild, and it goes off of a time system. So there's like a night and day. So like this thing will be here at this time, or and vice versa, like things like that.
Yeah.
That one is really, really fun.
that sounds like one that would be fun to stream. Just saying, that's the description you had there. I'm just sort of like still taking it in, a little bit puzzled of
Mhm.
this. Like you said, it sounds like a trip that
It is.
that if you're able to ever stream that one, that would be just there's the Terraria streams. There's a lot of people that do
Mm.
Animal Crossing that did, if this is in that vein, there I think there'd be viewers for it.
Back when I was a face cam streamer, I did do a stream on Tulip. But the thing is with that game is you need a guide. You need a strategy
Oh,
guide.
that
You
it's
need
just
it.
mm,
Um, yeah, and eventually got to a point where it's just like I'm gonna stop playing Tulip and we're gonna go play something else. But if I were to do it again, I would do it with a guide, and I probably have somebody on stream with me because, oh my gosh, that game is a trip. Oh. Other than that, I mean, besides the obvious like Persona,
yeah.
um,
The
should
thing about
crazy.
PS2 is that it had a lot of games. That if memory serves, it had around 3 times the number of titles that the GameCube had. That um, there was a book called Nintendo Magic, which was released around 2-3 years after the Wii came out, and it did talked a lot about Nintendo's development of consoles and a couple different things, and it had a lot of different graphs and bits of info. And one of the things that it talked about was just the sheer volume of games that was released for
Right.
some of the consoles, and the fact that the GameCube had and the N64 each had the smallest number of titles for consoles of their generations, and Sony always had the most by a
Right.
lot.
Oh yeah.
And it just meant that it, there was more forgettable ones that each system, of course, had their heavy hitters, their all stars, and it was just that PlayStation at the time was a much easier system to develop for. Uh,
Mm.
I'm not sure if it was a matter of approvals or software that was required,
Mhm.
or if there was, technologically that did just there was something in the code base that was easier to work with, but that they always had more releases, um, and that you'll find a lot more, even if not shovelware for them, that a lot of games that have been forgotten or that were just anywhere from mediocre to fine but forgettable.
Mm.
And I'm sure that anything on this shelf that if you've gone out of your way to get, that it's going to be one of the good games. But one of the interesting things that I feel has sort of happened over the years is that Sony and Microsoft have franchises. Nintendo has characters,
Yeah.
and that uh, just nostalgically, I don't know. Maybe it's just because the friend group that I grew up with, but I always feel like there's people always end up having to say more about GameCube and N64 than PS1 and PS2.
Mhm.
And I don't need to be throwing shade at PS1 and 2, that those were amazing consoles.
Yeah.
They sold very well. They had a lot of incredible games, but for whatever reason, it's the type of thing that Nintendo ones, at least for me, were the ones that stick with me a little bit more. But don't get me wrong, there were a lot of really, really good things worth playing, worth revisiting on PS1 and 2.
Right. So there's actually a reason behind that. When it comes to Nintendo and their consoles, they were a lot harder to develop for because Nintendo kind of had this standard.
There was the
And
Nintendo seal of approval, which exists to
yeah,
this day.
exactly. You were, if you got onto a Nintendo console, like good job, good for you. Like you really, really had to, get their approval. Where when it came to Sony and their games, it was let's try and just we're gonna make it to where our console has more selection than Nintendo's, and that's what it was really about. It's like we're gonna try and outdo Nintendo. Sega does what Nintendo don't,
Hmm.
things like that.
Yeah,
It's always a competition. That's always the reason.
yeah. That the
Nintendo
Nintendo
not so
seal
bad
of
anymore now.
approval, if memory serves, initially came about partially because Nintendo rose to prominence after the infamous crash of '83, which was heralded by a slew of shovelware games with low quality and production standards that came to a head with the infamous release of ET. And that one of the things that Nintendo really did, along with releasing a couple of hits such as Donkey Kong Super Mario Brothers, to sort of assure customers, all right, you're not going to buy something that is just a bunch of shovelware like these past ones that almost caused the death of the industry, with the Nintendo quality seal of approval, and that they would by hand go through all the games that were submitted to be on their console and say that in order to be a licensed release, to get distribution with us, that you need to meet this standard. And it's something that has kept up over the years. And it wasn't, I think, so much of an issue when it got to the PS1 and 2 era of it being that people couldn't necessarily keep up with the quality standards, but that Nintendo did quirky stuff with their systems that just they were a little bit more difficult to develop for. On top of, they still had those extra, even if it wasn't that people couldn't reach their standards, that they had that bit of extra red tape to go through.
Yeah. No, you're right. That is exactly how it was. And I would actually go as far as say it's not how it is now. With when it's the Switch first dropped, Nintendo started to work more with indie titles.
Yeah, they made a big push to be more indie inclusive.
They and I don't mean this in any bad way or anything, but I feel like they might have pushed a little too hard for it. So if you go to like new releases on the Switch, it feels like everything is drowned out. There's so much stuff. When you go to new, like sort by new release games, like I go by like there's like 30 rows until I come to like a new release, like main title, like just going through all the new, like by new title releases. And I mean, like there was even like I was going through and like I think I saw some game was like it was literally called like hentai something.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that, and I was like, wow, I'm surprised they greenlit this.
Yeah, then I'm just over here like, oh, okay. No, I mean that's fine, you know, if you like what you like, but I'm over here just like I'm like trying to like dig through all this, trying to find stuff, but it's just so much. It's like almost flooded now. Like they need to like fix the eShop or something to make it a little bit more organized or something. I don't know.
I think the problem with the eShop there isn't necessarily that it's too much. I think that it's just that the eShop navigation UI is not very efficient, that you have to manually scroll through everything, and that the number of titles displayed on each given page is only like 5. And so it just takes time to go through them, that it's not a very fluid UI, at least last time I did it. I can't actually remember the last time I took a deep dive on the Switch shop, so I could be off base here, but I think part of it might just be that, and that sorting and being able to search for games is not as efficient as it could be.
Yeah, I miss the Wii Shop.
Wii Shop is really good.
I miss it. We have to go back.
Dun 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 dun.
Oh, every Wednesday. Every Wednesday, Wii Shop Wednesday. We celebrate. This is a Wii Shop
classic.
Wednesday. It is
Such
good.
a classic.
But I mean that's all really the PS2 games that I'd probably point out without going on and on about RPGs like Star Ocean or Rogue Galaxy and Dragon Quest.
Yeah. And that actually brings that is the last of the pictures. And I did not know how long we would spend on the shelves on the games, and that has become the main chunk of the show. But honestly, I have no complaints here. That was just fun, just sort of going through some of these generations, honestly even farther on TOASTY development than I was expecting. Actually, I'm going to bring us back now to the main screen. Here we are. But we've been at this for almost 3.5 hours.
Good.
That, like I said, I was not sure how long we'd go on those, but that was just fun. It's been a while since I've gone that sometimes I'll be able to go on a deep dive with a guest on a particular franchise, and we went for a while on Sonic, but
Mhm.
that it's been a while since I just went, sort of blow for blow with it, multiple generations like that, and the fact that you yourself are developing in sort of the middle of all of that retro, because we only went as far as PS2, which, as you said, in technicality is retro at this point, whether I like it or not.
Yeah, I'm sorry you had to find out that way.
Oh no, I knew about it. I just sort of suspension of disbelief,
Yeah.
or suspension of belief, whichever it is.
Yeah, I will fight it. I will keep fighting it to this till the day I give my last breath. PS2, no.
Mm, But
Got
seriously,
day
this has
one.
been so much fun, but it is starting to get a little bit late. It's been a long day for you. I know it's been a long day for me. But I have a couple final questions as we start to wind down. The first is, do you have any major goals for the rest of the year? That we are now in August, there's a bit less than half the year left. And I'm going to say, apart from getting partner, because we know that's a goal. We know that we are eagerly waiting for Twitch to finally get back to you. So I'm going to say, apart from reaching partner, do you have any goals? And that could be either, metric based ones, whether it be, I want to be able to reach this many followers, or,
Mm,
try and reach this many concurrent viewers, or if it's
mm,
project based of, I want to do this type of stream,
yeah.
or, anything along those lines. Do you have any goals between now and the
Uh,
end of the year?
well, I mean, some of the goals I have for myself is something simple things like draw. I need to draw more. I want to draw more.
Yeah, we
Um,
didn't get into that at all. That was something that we had
no.
discussing, that you have been getting more into art lately.
Hmm.
And you said that you aren't super confident in your skills yet, but that you want to get
No.
there. So hearing that
Yeah.
is an area of focus for you absolutely
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah. That's one of my goals. Is to draw more. When it comes to like metrics and whatnot, I have a weird outlook on all that kind of stuff. I I celebrate milestones for my stream. We recently hit 5K followers, and then on Twitter we hit 4K. Um, Honestly, like if we hit any other, like we hit 6K or 7K or like 10K eventually or something, I'm gonna celebrate it. But I don't have those really as goals. I started doing this whole stream thing because I needed to make myself play games, you know, and in the
Mm,
process make friends, make some good experiences.
yeah.
And that was my goal with streaming, and I've accomplished that goal. So when it comes to metrics or any numbers, I don't have any goal. I've I already have an incredible community on Twitch and on Discord. I am completely just, I can't even believe that I have met so many amazing people, and it's amazing. I've already hit my goal, and hitting partner is just going to be one of those things to where I can make my brain shut up, you know?
Hmm.
Like, hey, congratulations, you won Twitch. Here's your celebratory check mark and a gift basket, you know?
Yeah.
Like after that point, it's like it's fine. But there's no other really goal after that. Like I'm gonna keep doing it. I'm gonna keep streaming. I love streaming. I love um playing new games, playing games, revisiting classics, playing because of streaming, I was able to play through the Sly Cooper series, and I never even touched that series before. I played through 1, 2, 3, and 4 on stream, and I wouldn't have played that if I didn't hold myself to playing it on stream. I would actually never play anything. I would just be working all the time. But in terms of goals, draw more. Um, my I'm gonna be starting to sell merchandise pretty soon here, actually.
Ooh.
I'm gonna be at TwitchCon, so I guess my one of those goals would probably be having my merch line all up for everybody to grab what they want and draw more, and I don't know, make good progress in Toasty and make more unforgettable memories. To be honest.
Hell yeah. I know that, trust me, that you're preaching to the choir here when it comes to just not caring about metrics. That VTuber Talk was started on a lark because I was bored, had fallen into the VTuber rabbit hole, and knew I didn't want to be a VTuber myself.
Mhm.
And, you know, there's a couple other circumstances that led to this particular idea, but the bottom line is like I don't check my metrics at all. I haven't
Yeah.
accepted affiliate. I qualified for affiliate. I'm not interested in affiliate because I figure even the amount that I would make is not worth the effort of putting it on my taxes at the end of the year. And just
Mhm.
I'm content to do a show once a week. And for me, the goal is just to be able to talk with cool people and have fun conversations like this. That for me, the fact that VTuber Talk has somehow continued on for over a year and a half. We're on episode 72 tonight. This is the goal for me, that I've accomplished my goal. And like, I literally don't actually check my metrics. That I get the automated email after
Mhm.
every stream saying, hey, like this is a metric thing, and I just delete it.
Yeah.
I legitimately don't care. So
Yeah.
I fully identify with that. Um, but yeah, and like I said though, I very much think that that check mark is a when, not an if.
Yeah.
So
It'll happen.
looking forward to the inevitability.
Yeah, I got a complete crazy off the wall meme ready for it too.
Oh
So
boy.
yeah, I got a lot of stuff. I'm like holding back so much stuff right now, just waiting for it, and it's driving me crazy.
Come on, Twitch, get on it.
Yeah.
And then
um,
the last question is one I ask all my guests: what does being a VTuber mean to you? And that's not what does it mean to be a VTuber, but
mm,
to you, Dooper, what does being a VTuber mean to you? And this is particularly interesting for you because, like you said, you were a facecam streamer prior to getting into VTubing. And
mm,
some people have a very, I suppose, clinical answer. And, I've had people say it is a tool in my toolbox as a content creator. It is a mask that I wear. It is something that lets me, uh, just do things as a content creator.
right.
Others have very personal stories. I've had people say, it lets me get in touch with my inner child. It lets me be someone that I can't be in real life. It lets me get in touch with my emotions in a way that I can't as a face cam streamer. And all of those answers and everything beyond is totally valid. And that's one of the cool
Yep.
things about VTubing is that people get into it for different reasons and that people get different things from it. So for you, Duper, what does being a VTuber mean to you?
I'm gonna be completely honest. When I started doing this, I didn't even know what VTubing was. I was already doing it. um, I was a facecam streamer. A friend of mine made a low poly llama model for me. My friend Mogadu made Frogun. My other friend Vox had rigged it for me, and I started using it on my stream. Didn't know anything about VTubing at all. Um, and what I see it then, or how I saw it then, is exactly the same way as I see it now. It is a brand, and it's a prop with VTubing. Like what you had mentioned, you can do more with a model than you can with just doing face cam. With face cam, it's like, do I look good? Do I like, I feel weird? Is my gamma too high on my webcam? Like I just don't really want to show my face, kind of thing. It's so much more comfortable to be able to just open my application, have my phone tracking on, and be my llama self. I'm able to just be me. I can just be silly. Like I don't have the toggle on me right now because I don't have my stream deck on, but I can like whip out a gun and I can like shoot chat, and then chat like drops Smash Bros boxes on me and kills me, and then there's like 50 death screens on my channel. There's all this stuff.
Do like your death screens?
Oh, that came to me in a dream. Actually, I was on the toilet. Anyways, I. But to me, VTubing it's an extension of you. You can do more with it. I was a theater kid. It's a prop. You can do some crazy stuff with just using a model. Um, it's not for everybody, and that's totally okay. If you don't like VTubing, cool. If you love VTubing, neat. Um, I don't know the end. Honestly, the ones who really inspire me to like keep being ridiculous and do what I do are the friends that I've made, my community, and um, other people who do VTubing, big or small. Like everyone's so incredibly talented. So it's VTubing to me. It is a prop and a brand, I guess.
That makes sense. And I asked that question because I never know what someone is going to say before they say it.
Mm-hmm.
But when people give me their answer to that question, the answer always makes sense.
Yeah.
because, even after just a couple of hours talking to someone that, he, there ends up being threads of consistency in just what people like or what motivates them. Oh my gosh, how appropriate that right now, as we're coming to the end of the show, that the Live and Learn remix comes on. I I could not script this better. but
It's crazy how that happens.
but a lot of the themes that we talked about tonight was writing about background characters, or just the different things that matter to you, and that for you it's fun, it's effort, it's attention to detail, and that VTubing lets you put in those extra details. It lets you put in that extra depth as a content creator that you wouldn't necessarily be able to put in, like dropping boxes on your head, or having death screens, or being able to use all these different props, and that it very much fits with you and the things that you enjoy and the things that matter to you. So I do appreciate your answer to the question. You're just being here tonight, going on these fun little journeys with me, the nostalgia of Sonic Adventure 2, all the different generations of games that we've discussed. It's just been so much fun, Dooper. So cannot thank you enough.
Hey, thanks for having me, honestly.
Seriously, the pleasure is all mine. And thank you, Chad, as well, for sticking around. And if you're watching on YouTube, thanks for sticking around to the end. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. So, as we prepare to end the show, do you have anybody that you would like us to raid?
Let me see here. Yeah, you know what? Since you brought them up, I would be cool with us rating Mike_feedback.
All right, can you send me the spelling just to make sure I get the correct version of Mike?
You got it. They are the one who did. They are the one that made the Hey You Pikachu microphone.
All right, MIC. Yep.
Yeah,
Awesome. Well, again, thank you, Dooper. Thank you, everyone in chat, for stopping by. If for some reason you aren't already following Dooper, his links are right there at the bottom of the screen. I'm going to give him one more shout out here in chat. If you feel like following me, you can. It's just Vtuber Talk here on Twitch and on Twitter. I do shows approximately once a week. I can't promise you consistency because I work around my guests' schedules. Oh my gosh.
You never talked about anime.
You never talked about anime. Never talked about anime, Dooper.
Well, hey, you know what?
One of the things is you had told me, you were like, oh, I don't watch that much stuff because I'm always making things and I don't consume that much, like just movies and other content. But I completely forgot because I've seen these comment classes during your streams and I forgot about them.
Oh, I love that. That's great.
A conversation for another day.
Oh yeah.
Another time. But again, seriously, thank you so much for being here, Dooper. Thank you, folks in chat. Like I said, if you want to follow me, you can. But even if not following me, follow Dooper. Keep up with Toasty because it looks like it's going to be a hell of a game. Seriously, thank you all so much for being here. Really appreciate it. We're going to be heading over to Mike Feedback. As you said, Vlad, we have now found out is the one behind this Hey You Pikachu innovation discovery. So very, very exciting. Definitely gonna have to check him out. Dooper, cannot thank you enough. Hope to see you around. Definitely, you're gonna see me in your chats, whether you like it or not.
Oh, I'll like it. It'll always be nice to see you.
Awesome. Well, have a fantastic night, everybody. I will see you around, and like I said, follow Dooper, keep up with Toasty. I will see you all next time.